Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Formula Online Racing for round 15 of the PlayStation 4 F1 Championship, coming to you live from a very damp Marina Bay circuit. It is the Singapore Grand Prix. My name is Luke, and alongside me once again is Jess. And Jess, I suppose Singapore is one of the tracks where you kind of do expect it to rain a bit, being very hot and humid, similar to Malaysia.
Yeah, definitely, and it's one of the longest tracks on the calendar as well, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to go to Singapore and you're going to expect either inters or full wet conditions. There's only been a few occasions where it's been dry, so the drivers have got to hope they can have their dry dance on, and hopefully it's going to be dry for the race, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, firstly they'll just be trying to make their way through the first qualifying session. It is full qualifying here at FOR, but as we've only got 16 drivers, there will only be one person eliminated. That is assuming they can all keep it out the barriers, and that is definitely easier said than done in these conditions. A very tricky circuit, lots of 90-degree corners, and tyre wear, if it's dry, will play a huge part in the race here.
Yep, soft tyres, they only last pretty much only a few laps in the dry when you go to the race, so if people want to start on the softs, they probably will have to go in pretty quickly to get their softs out of the way. So I will see probably a lot more people wanting to get those mediums on to start the racing, because they can go quite a distance, and then onto the hards as well. But yeah, softs, most people wouldn't want to touch them at all.
Yeah, and of course strategies can change a lot in this race, especially if we see any safety cars. Don't be too surprised if we do get one of them. There's a lot of accidents and incidents happen around this Singapore circuit. We're on board then with last week's race. Well, he took the championship lead, I should say, last time out. It was Thomas who won, but he's absent tonight. We saw Paris Burrell get a second position, but it was this man, Josh, third position, good enough to take the lead of the championship, and it is extremely close now at the head of the Drivers' Championship. Josh on 132 points, Paulie Orange 130, Westy 129. Any one of them three could take the lead tonight, and Josh's performances have helped Renault get a bit of a more comfortable lead in the constructors than they had before. They are now 31 points ahead of Haas, but either Haas, McLaren or Williams could, mathematically that is, take the championship lead tonight. So we'll go on board with Josh then around this Marina Bay circuit. First use in 2008, just over 5 kilometres, about 3.2 miles as he heads around turn 1, 2, and then a hairpin at 3. It's just about keeping it nice and smooth there, Aylan, making sure he gets out of the way. On the run down to 4, into 5. This is the DRS activation zone just after here in the race, but obviously in these intermediate conditions they will not be using that. Heading around turn 6 along Raffles Boulevard, expect to see a lot of slipstreaming down towards turn 7, which provides the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. Rhythm very important around Singapore, like most street circuits. A lot of tight 90-degree angled corners. You see Josh now going through turn 8 and turn 9 as the rear end of that Renault, just trying to step away from him there. Heading down towards what was the Singapore Sling Chicane, where Kimi Raikkonen got caught out in the first ever Singapore Grand Prix. They've changed it slightly since then. It's just more of a simple corner then through 10, 11, over the Anderson Bridge, through turn 12, and then heavy braking for the hairpin at turn 13, which does also provide an overtaking opportunity if you're brave enough. If you're not able to do so, you can go all the way down towards turn 14, but at the moment Josh there just backing off on that lap, so we'll see what Jonathan Cox does. He can take us around the rest of his lap. He's just on an out lap though, and this final sector, Jess, very tricky, very fiddly indeed, and this is where, if your tyres are worn out, this is the sector where you lose most of the time.
Yeah, that's for sure as well, and that will probably get an advantage to people that are managing their tyres correctly as well, especially as you go to that very tricky left-hander as well. We've seen a few people in the past in a few leagues that go through the runoff area as well. Their tyres get a bit too hot around here as well, and I feel like Jonathan at the moment is just warming his tyres a bit more, because on the inters it takes a bit longer to warm those tyres up, whereas obviously the softs, they get a bit hotter. So I think that's what Jonathan is doing as he's about to start his lap. Hopefully it will be validated though.
Yeah, I'll be hoping for a nice clean lap. Silent ace and infamous pillars for two Ferraris. Top at the moment, Paulie Orange was leading the championship for quite a while. He dropped back after the last race. He's now slotted into third place, and it is Westy laying a marker down with that 152.210. Fastest in this session. However, he does have a qualifying free ban from last time around. There is also a Q3 ban for Endangered Silent A. So if any of those get into the top 10, they will have to not take any part in that final qualifying session. I would say in dry conditions, that would mean they're all aiming to try and start in 11th. But obviously if it is dry during the race, they will all get a nice fresh choice of tyres. Don't be too surprised to see a few accidents even in this qualifying session, especially through the final sector. You can even actually manage to nudge some of the barriers out into the middle of the circuit, which does catch a few drivers out at times, especially if you're the first one around there.
Yeah, because if you're not the first round there, you're going to have dirty air as well. And if you've seen other people go through the barrier, you may follow suit. And it's going to be really hard to try and avoid that as much as you can as well. And since there's only 16 drivers, you don't want to be one of them's caught out, and that will mean the end of your qualifying session here and then, but the others could take it easy at that point as well. And obviously we also got to keep an eye on some other people, as someone has just hit the wall. That's the Toro Rosso of Hibilo is in sector 1. I'm not quite sure where that is. I think that's turn I'm losing track of turns, but he's reversing anyway, and he's luckily he hasn't hit the wall too much. He's going to go into the pit and get a fresh front wing to start his next lap, and he's only got 11 minutes to do so though. He's got to get a move on, and I might be imagining things, but it stopped raining.
Yeah, it stopped raining, so now could be the time to head back into the pits and get the dry tyres on anyway, so that might not be too costly of a mistake. So expect to see everyone heading out on back track again. We're seeing Glock now. He's returned to the league after winning the first couple of races of the season, had to pull out of the league. He's now back as a reserve driver, filling in for Thomas tonight in the McLaren, and unsurprisingly he is straight on the pace with a 152.266, putting him just behind Westy at the moment. These tracks do dry out incredibly quickly, perhaps not as much at Singapore as you haven't got the heat of the sun blaring down on the track, but you'll get that message when DRS is enabled, and it is all about getting the timing right. You don't want to just miss out or perhaps invalidate what might be your only dry run, because even though there's only one car going to be going out, that could make the difference.
Yeah, these drivers will be watching the deltas between the wet tyres and the medium tyres especially, or even the softs, and if the delta goes all the way down, then that's a sign where they're going to go out. But preferably, especially on a long track around Singapore, if I were them, probably about 3 minutes 30, I would look to make a decision on whether they want to go out or on the inters, or whether they want to go out on the soft. But since it's drying out quickly, we could see them make a decision as early in the next couple of minutes. But we shall see. But it is a tricky one in the wet to dry conditions. They just got to go for their gut feeling as well, because even though it may be like 7 seconds slower at the moment, if it goes down quite quickly as you go out, you probably timed it just right.
Yeah, there are only 16 drivers here at the moment, but we are just being reminded that Artiero should hopefully be able to make the race, so he'll be starting from 17th. We'll see if the Alfa Romeo driver, who always seems to be consistently in and around the points, whether he can make his way up through the field in the race. On board then with Josh. He's still pushing hard on these intermediate tyres at the moment, but really when it gets to that crossover the point, the intermediates seem to cope a lot better with heavy rain conditions than they do with slick conditions. They really overheat and lose all their grip.
Yeah, that's for sure. So hopefully some of these guys would like to go into the pits pretty quickly and make sure that they get used to track on these intermediate tyres. But luckily, from what I've heard, it's they're not going to need it for the races. It's going to be a dry race, and I'm not sure about the rest of qualifying. Hopefully we'll get a bit of a clarification of what it's going to be for Q2 and Q3, but it is going to be dry, which I think for me and you, Luke, I think we're both going to be relieved about that.
Yeah, Singapore is a long race normally. Quite often when I've had rain around this circuit, you do see the half-distance racers go well over the hour mark, so it could become a bit of an endurance feat by the end. Singapore definitely a hard race for the drivers, as Josh, first man into the 151s with a 151.934, but seeing a few drivers in the pits selecting the soft tyres, whether they feel brave enough, and they definitely should, because there's that message, DRS enabled. Anyone who gets out on the softs, that's pretty much saying that track is definitely ready for the soft tyres. Expect them to gain at least 3 or 4 seconds, and Josh, he'll be hurrying back to the pits to make sure he can get back out again in enough time. Hopefully he's got enough fuel to get round, because we've seen that happen a few times here where drivers have run out of fuel pushing it so hard on their qualifying laps, and then they have to trundle back to the pit lane at a much reduced speed.
Yep, if I was on the intermediate conditions, you would put more fuel in the wet and less fuel in the dry. And someone that's timed it quite nicely, actually, is Infamous. As soon as we seen DRS enabled, he went out of the pits even before that. So he's timed that very well, looked at the deltas and went for his gut feeling, and then that's worked very well. And one advantage is, I think there's someone in front of him that's either on a lap or not. I'm not entirely sure who it is, but that's Vitinho. But I do believe Vitinho's on the inters. Yes, he is. So, yeah, that's going to work out very nicely for him, as well as I think Biliu, who's also on the softs as well. He's got clear air as well. More clear air than Infamous has. So they should be fine getting in a lap. And if they do get a lap, pretty much, I think most of them will be safe. But some of these guys have got to get a move on now.
Yeah, Vitinho will be diving into the pits. I'm sure he's on the intermediates, as is Josh, not too far ahead. So we'll follow Infamous Pillars round just to get an idea of how much advantage you get by being on these slick tyres in these conditions. As he's lost a bit of his front wing. He's got time to come in. I think it'll be worth just heading into the pits, getting that front wing changed, because you don't want to be losing downforce around here. So many slow corners, you need as much grip as possible. He is actually going to head out, but that is really going to compromise him through some of these corners, Jess.
Yeah, especially around here where you need a lot of downforce, and he's already struggling goes through these 90-degree corners, so I think he's going to lose quite a lot of time, and that's probably going to give the likes of the Toro Rosso driver and also the ones who are fast anyway a little bit more of a confidence boost that maybe they have gone out at the right time. You can see Infamous at the beginning of his out lap was struggling quite a bit, but that was because some of the track was still a bit damp, because obviously it takes a while to dry up. But Infamous is purple already, but I'm sure other people are going to be purple in Sector 1 pretty soon, as he's just carrying on with Sector 2. But he's actually doing all right, you know. He's keeping it on the track, which is great to see. But the tracks where it requires a lot more downforce, in particular in Sector 3, that is where he's going to find it the trickiest.
Yeah, he could very easily understeer into the wall once again as he just comes over the Anderson Bridge now. He's about to start the final sector as he heads around that hairpin there. Possible overtaking in the race down here as well if you get a good exit coming out of that hairpin at turn 13. You can make a move into turn 14, and unsurprisingly he's going faster once again. Hibilu behind him, he'll be on a fast lap as well. Silent Ace in the other Ferrari. Both of these Ferrari drivers not scoring a point in their debut for the Scuderia last time around, and Ferrari are a team that could really do with points in this FOR Constructors Championship at the moment, down in last position on 89 points. It's only them and Alfa Romeo who are yet to hit the 100 mark. So let's see what sort of time can Infamous Pillars do then. Comes across the line, and there we go, 1:32.028, 10 seconds faster than what everyone else has done. We pretty much expected that. Hibilu, though, I think he's going to break that time, seeing as he's got every bit of carbon fibre that you need on a racing car. And there we go, yeah, 1:40.336 from Hibilu. The Toro Rosso has been a mainstay for a while now in FOR. Could he get his first points in the league tonight with only 16 drivers and it being a very tough circuit? Expect to see quite a few retirements. Most of the field now will be heading out shortly, I imagine, for their out laps, just to maybe try and get a bit of free air, but they're all going to want to leave it late just to show they've got the track in the best possible condition.
Yeah, there's 4 drivers as well that have not set a lap time, and that could be crucial because, again, as we said earlier, only one person will not be able to make it into Q2, and you don't want to be one of those people as Josh goes out for his qualifying lap now. And oh, look at Silent Ace. He's showing what he's made of, the Ferrari, as we were talking about, in 1:37.2. That is not bad considering the track hasn't rubbered up as much. So that's gonna give the Scuderia something to talk about. But that is not going to be safe for him. There's people that's probably going to go even faster. So I don't think he's going to have time to go again there. So hopefully the others will bottle their lap so he can carry on into Q2, of course.
Yeah, I hope for his sake he's got a bit of fuel in. We've got yellow flags coming out of Here we can see turn 20 and 21, but that is just for a slow-moving racing point. That's Jonathan Cox just getting ready to start his flying lap. He's not going to get in the way of Westy, so what can the Williams do? This is going to be his one and only run on the soft tyres in qualifying, and it is good enough for first position now, 1:35.410. That will be enough to keep him safe, seeing as he's ahead of Silent Ace, and the Ferrari hasn't got enough fuel to do another lap either. Furhan, he's yet to set a lap time, neither has Loney in the second tour of also his teammate currently in third place. They're both on their opening laps. Hibilu improved on his second lap around. That might not be the worst idea, putting enough fuel in to do a couple of track laps to get used to the circuit, but a 1:39.303 and he's low on ERS, so not sure whether he'll have a chance to get another run in. Jonathan Cox, has he already made a mistake, I think, on his hot lap, maybe just slowing down?
Yeah,
to get
he
out
has.
of the way.
He's invalidated.
Yeah, so Jonathan
He's invalidated his lap.
Yeah, Jonathan Cox invalidating his lap there. That's not what you want to be doing in this session, especially if you're one of those four guys down towards the bottom of the order. NUF1, he's returning to the league as a reserve now in that Renault, replacing Pedro tonight. Can he help boost the championship lead? Josh, 5th place at the moment, fastest of those on the intermediate tyres, but it's not going to be too long now, and you can see Josh going purple in the first sector. He seems to be so confident in the car at the moment, so good in qualifying when he can hook it all up together. He's admitted himself sometimes he just makes a couple of mistakes, especially in the final qualifying session, and that has cost him pole. And Singapore, it is possible to overtake, especially on the DRS zone, but it's not the easiest circuit to make a pass on.
Definitely, I've got to agree with you there, and I think Josh, not many people like this circuit, so I think Josh has got to make sure that he can ease the pressure a little bit, treat it like a normal session, a normal qualifying session, and make sure that he can get the lap in anyway. As Westy is retired from the session, but he's done enough. And whilst we were talking about Josh, Loney has got on pole position, well, not pole position, but P1 in the session with a 1:30.51. He's safe. I'm sure Fernhan is safe as well, 1:35.4, because obviously Silent 8 is going into the pits as well. I'm seeing if Adenji is going to get a lap, because he's the only one not to get a lap. He's invalidated his lap,
and he's too
and
far
I don't
away.
think he's going to make it in time. So I think we found our first person to miss out on Q2. I think he's the only person, so he's not going to make it, so he's out of Q1.
Yeah, and that's going to be a blessing in disguise for Infamous Pillars, who obviously made that mistake on his earlier lap because he didn't make it across the line in time either, but that is not going to matter. So we know who's going out here in Q1. It is Andenge in the Alfa Romeo. He had that qualifying free ban anyway, but that's not going to make a difference. He'll be starting from 16th, and with Arturo joining later on, it's going to be a very tough race for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Still a few heading around on circuit just to try and prove what sort of lap times they can set. Glock in second. Vitinho comes across the line. He is 8th at the moment in the Mercedes, replacing Droftas, who has said hi to both of us. Hopefully he's enjoying his evening off from racing, as we can see Paulie Orange was leading the championship. He could do with getting some good results and getting that form back together. What time is he going to set in the Haas? Already through, so if he wanted to, could just head into the pits and save a bit of life on those soft tyres, but I can't see them being used much again after this qualifying session, given how fragile they are around the circuit. And Paulie Orange just comes towards the finish line. That is good enough at the moment for 6th position, but it was Josh in the Renault, fastest in the first qualifying. Glock not too far behind. Loney up there, and Westy as well. That's very important for the championship, that Westy, you could do with things coming together a bit more in qualifying, but that Q3 ban could prove to be costly.
Yeah, I think so as well. And usually when he doesn't start in the top 3 in qualifying is where he hasn't delivered good results. Some races he's been a bit unlucky. He did start, he joined mid-race at mid-qualifying session in Monza at the start of the back, but he only finished 7th, but I think he admitted after the race that he could have scored probably 6th place, 5th place, or even 4th place. So for him, that's going to give him confidence boost, even with that ban he's going to get. But even if you qualify that high up in Q2, you have to, if you qualify in the top 10 in game, you have to start on the tyres you set your fastest lap on anyway. And Vitinho's AI just had a little bit of a went into the barriers a little bit there. But yeah, that's the end of Q1. And we'll have to wait and see what happens in Q2.
Yeah, thankfully it will stay dry. I imagine most of the drivers will be trying to get through to the next part of qualifying on those medium tyres, not wanting to use the soft in the race at all, if they can avoid it, but they do have to use two types of tyres, of course. It was Josh who was fastest in that session from Glock. That rain interrupted the session. You can see further down the order, Infamous Pillars. He'll be happy that he went through. The game has also knocked Alan out, which you always got to love sometimes. He must have crashed out towards the end of that session then, and we must have missed it. But Alan, he will not be taking any further part in this qualifying either in the McLaren. So as one McLaren's doing well, and they did score a big chunk of points last week, 35 points, Alan's going to have to come from the back as well, and Denge, after invalidating his one and only lap in qualifying. And that's what we said, Jess. If you leave it a bit too late and you make a mistake on your one lap when the weather's changed, that can be it. And that's proved to be the case for Denge.
Yeah, what a shame for him. I mean, he was safe. He could have gone into the pits and as soon as he's seen someone retire from the session, that could have been it, and he could have gone into the pits and then he would have been fine for Q2. But I think some people just want to take that risk, but I know it could be costly at times, so I'm guessing he probably regret going out once he saw people not setting a lap time, but that's racing, to be honest with you. And obviously the top 10 will probably, they're not going to touch the softs pretty much at all in this qualifying session unless they want to have some glory points. But we're seeing a mixture of tyres at the moment unless they change it. Quite a few people on the softs, but surely they're not going to go on the softs for Q2 because I have to start on them, so that's a bit worrying.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe like Hibilo, Infamous Pillars, they might try to qualify on these soft tyres just to try and get into the top 10 and give themselves a good chance. Hope for an early safety car maybe so they can get rid of those soft tyres as early as possible, which is very likely around this circuit. We've seen it quite often. Westy, it looks as though he's going to try and get round on the hard tyres, perhaps given that qualifying ban. Ditto with Josh, Glock, Cassie G and Paulie Orange. Do you think these hard tyres are just to maybe get a few banker laps in case there's any accidents later on in the session or they invalidate their laps? Because I imagine it's going to be very tough to get into the top 10 on these tyres, even for drivers of their calibre.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I was in Q2, because you got hard, you may as well use it, may as well get a feel for the track in the dry conditions, because obviously it's dried up quite a bit from Q1, so obviously they don't want to qualify on them, but they want to get a feel of how it's going to be like in the race as well. So that, I think it is just banker laps, to be honest, so they get a feel for it, and that's what I would do. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, it's quite a wise tactic that you see the drivers doing quite often. Remember, top 10 will go through to the final part of qualifying. Westy has that qualifying ban, as does Silent A, so if they're in the top 10 they'll be taking no further part anyway. But Paulie Orange, he's on the hard tyres. Josh on the hards. We'll see what sort of times he can do and compare them to what he managed last time around. It was a 1:34 for Josh. Anywhere around 1:36, anywhere in the 1:36s I think would be absolutely fantastic for him. I'd expect him to be low 1:37s at best with these hard tyres. We've got yellow flags in Sector 2 there, and I think that was Josh's teammate, NUF1. Not sure whether he's had a brush with the barrier or just going very slow on his outlap, but it looks as though all the bits of that yellow and black Renault are where they should be. And Josh, what sort of times is he doing in the first sector? Obviously going purple with a 26.7, but it'll be interesting to see how that compares to some of the others. Koala, perhaps. And he's actually invalidated on them soft tyres, so that's definitely not what you want to do in the early stages of this session. With the soft tyres being as fragile as they are, you're not going to have enough grip to get a second fast lap on them.
The other Renault in the medium compounded tyres set 26.8 on the mediums in the first sector. So Josh on those hard compounded tyres, he's absolutely nailing it. Obviously, it's not much difference between the mediums and the hards, but to be honest, I think Josh is going to get a good lap even on the hards, but I don't think he wants to be in the hards in the race, so hopefully he can go faster on those medium compounded tyres when he fits them on. But that's going to set a benchmark for everybody else to follow for this qualifying session. Josh could be the man to beat in this session. We'll have to wait and see as he goes through these tricky last set of corners, which we've seen a few people bin it. I think that's where we've seen a Denji bin it as well, I think, towards the final few corners. So here comes Josh now, the first person to set a lap. He's not invalidated, it's a 1:36.6. And you did say, Luke, if anyone got into the 1:36 in the heart, it will be good. And Josh has just done just that.
Yeah, very impressive lap time from him. Let's see what Paulie Orange can do. How does he compare? There you go, 1:38.171. Josh really nailing it on those hard tyres. Some of the drivers seem to enjoy them, others not so much. NUF1 had invalidated, so got one of the Toro Rossos, Loney, he's invalidated. Now he's got pace. I'm surprised to see him on the soft tyres, if I'm being honest, because I'd expect him to go for the mediums or the hards, and he'd invalidated that lap, but it would have been good enough for the fastest time. Cassie G, he's coming around on the hard tyres. Both the Williams cars coming around not too far apart. As you see Cassie G there with a 1:38.024, and Westy, he'll be aiming for 11th place. It's a 1:37.388. That just underlines what a lap it was by Josh, because out of the first 4 hard runners out of the 5 that are using them, as we'll see, Glock, he's just started the final sector. Josh, 7 tenths faster than Westy, who himself is 7 tenths faster than Cassie G. And there we go, Jonathan Cox, showing that the mediums, obviously we expect them to be much quicker with a 1:36.19179. Hibilu getting up there with a 1:36.693 on the softs. That says to me that all those that are on the hard tyres are definitely going to have to try and go out again on those mediums to make sure of a place in Q3.
Yep, definitely, and obviously 14 drivers left, and only 4 drivers will not make it into Q3. So, and Glock comes across the line in 4th place. So, he's beating Westy by about a tenth of a second. So that's pretty good for him as well. Everyone else is out at the moment is on either the softs or the medium compounded tyres. A few to set a lap. Lonely being one of those drivers who I think just wants to make it into Q3, to be honest. Hopefully he doesn't get it into the walls pretty much, because otherwise that is his qualifying over. He did well in obviously Q1 as well. He timed it just right. We'll have to wait and see what difference will it make being on those soft tyres compared to the mediums, and he just dives it into the pit. So I wonder why he did that. I'm guessing he realised that he doesn't want to go on the soft because they don't last for a long time.
Yeah, he invalidated his lap first time around, so I'm guessing just not enough grip maybe to set as competitive a time as you'd want on the soft. So he might have got through anyway, but starting on hot soft tyres that have done 2 laps, obviously a lot worse than starting on soft tyres that have only done 1 lap, and quite a few drivers thinking that's not ideal anyway. Hibilu, his teammate, I imagine he'll be coming back round to the pit. So we've only seen 7 drivers set their first lap time. It's only Vitinho who's currently going out on a hot lap at the moment in the Mercedes, making his debut tonight as a reserve in place of Groftas. What can he do? Mercedes looking pretty handy in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. They are in 7th position on 109 points, but Racing Point not too far ahead of him. And with how close it is only 100 points behind Renault. You never know what could happen. Fairhands looked pretty racy. Groftas had his best qualifying session for a while in Italy. It's just a shame for him that things didn't go well in the race, but we'll follow Vitinho round these final few corners. I expect to see a lot of action there in the race, especially if there's any safety car when the leaders start bunching up the pack. And it's going to be around the final corner on these medium tyres, and Vitinho with a 1:36.884, so behind Hibilu, Josh and Jonathan Cox. And you can see there Josh is saying he's going for the medium tyres when he next goes out. I think he knows he's just not quite safe enough with that time.
But I think when he goes on the medium compounded tyres, I think he's going to smash that 1:36 and possibly go into the 1:35s. He did a 1:34 in Q1, and I think he's hoping that he could snatch P1 in this session, so he could have a huge advantage going into Q3. But that's going to probably help the others because they know what the benchmark is for Q3. But some people might be just putting sandbags on in Q2 at this moment if they know they're going to be safe. But hopefully they won't put too much, because otherwise they'll be out of Q2 and won't be taking any further part in this session, of course. So there's only so little time you can lose, to be honest. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, Fairhand, he's just come around turns 20 and 21 there before heading around 22, 23, the final couple of corners. And it is that barrier coming out of turn 21. Quite often in Formula 1, you do see the sponsors advertising being ripped off there by the cars. We've seen a lot of wheel rims broken, suspension pieces going flat in carbon fibre as well. It's a very tricky final sector here. We'll stay on board with Furhan on his hot lap at the moment. NUF1 also going out on a hot lap. I think he's stuck on the medium tyres that he had originally, and Furhan purple in sector 1. Can he get up into the 135s and secure his place in the next qualifying session? There'll be 4 drivers going out, and we're still, with 6 minutes to go, 6 of them yet to set a time. Both Ferraris out on an out lap along with Loney, and all the others in that bottom bar on a hot lap. The top 8 just sitting in the pits for now, perhaps letting these guys get out of the way. We'll see whether they stick on the medium tyres. Glock is still showing us on the hards, but I think he's got to realise that if everyone else starts going for the mediums, he's never going to make it through on those.
Yeah, I think Glock's just got to get a move on, really, because to be honest, he's on the hards that take a long time to warm up in quali anyway, and obviously the delta for the mediums is huge compared to the hards. So it's 5 minutes to go. He's got to think strategically now. He's got to concentrate on how would I get into Q2, but also stretch the tyres out in the race, of course. Some of these guys may want to go on the alternate strategy, but only a few guys can do that. And I think the likes of Westy, Cassie G, they just need to change onto those medium compounded tyres, which they do, luckily, as Paulie Orange goes out on the set of the mediums as well. Everyone has got fitted the mediums apart from Hibilu, who's I think opting for the softs, which I think is going to be a bit of a gamble, but everyone does not want to start on the soft in the race, that's for sure. And Hibilu has retired from the session. Hopefully he hasn't binned it, but if he hasn't, that means he's safe. So I think he should be safe, fingers crossed.
But I think it's going to be a bit touch and go with Habila. We've still got 3 drivers yet to set a time, so we'll have to wait and see. I think maybe he just looked at the time NUF1 set, but I'd expect Glock, Westy, Paulie Orange, Cassie G all to improve. Maybe Loney can get up ahead of him as well, so could well be one Toro Rosso knocking the other out here. We'll follow Loney around. 4 minutes to go in the session. He's currently in last place. Only him and the 2 Ferraris now yet to set a time. It was Furhan who went fastest, 135.485. NUF1 slotted into 7th place. What time can Loney set? There we go, 135.761. I think that retirement might just be a bit premature for Hibilo. Vitinho showing that he might try and go for the soft tyres, or is he going for a bit of a glory run to see what he can do in this second part of qualifying, get himself into the top 10, because he's not safe at the moment. Paulie Orange currently the first man who will not be making it. Westy on the bubble, but it's going to get very busy in the final 3.5 minutes of this qualifying session.
Yep, they got to understand about the cut-off point, but I would say you got to be in the early 136s like Jonathan Cox is to make sure you stand a chance of staying safe. If you're not in that bubble from like P4 downwards, I would strongly suggest you would go again. I think Jonathan is pretty confident that he could probably stay safe, but you never know. I'm almost certain Lonely and Furhan could just go into the pits now. They could retire from the session and they should be fine, unless someone can chuck out a 134, which will probably be impossible. But yeah, Furhan is retired from the session, and I can actually see it's from the pit lane. So I'm sure that he'll be safe, but you never know. We could see a few people fine, probably about a second, and then that could be him out of qualifying. But we're still having people not yet to set a representative that time. Paulie Orange getting purple in the sector 2 right now, so he's looking pretty quick. He doesn't want to be the 4 that is out of Q2, so it is pressure on for Paulie Orange, Cassie G, Infamous, and Westy.
Yeah, NUF1 still in the pit, so that might be well qualifying over for him in the Renault if he doesn't get out soon. We know Hibilu won't be going out again, so them 2 think they're safe. Jonathan Cox, I think it's a bit wiser. Him thinking he's safe. Vitinho's going out on the soft tyres, so he's determined to get through to this next part of qualifying as Paulie Orange, 136.066, 1.7, nearly 1.8 seconds faster than his time on the hard tyres. That is good enough for 3rd for now. That will get the Haas driver through. Silent A should be fine as well with a 136.255. Koala's gone 6th. Josh in 7th. He's improving. This could well be the fastest time we've seen. Is he going to manage to get into the 134s on the mediums? He did it in the last qualifying on the softs when the track was in a less optimal state. We saw Paulie Orange improve by 1.7 seconds. And there we go. Josh, 134.805. I believe that's what's known as laying down a marker.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I've only seen a few people do 134 on the mediums, and they quit. Josh is a guy that I've seen in top tiers in some leagues, so I to be honest, I probably was expecting it, but I probably wasn't expecting him to do it in Q2. So that's just insane for Josh, and he's definitely through now. But I'm a bit worried for him, because if he's done it in Q2, what are the others gonna think? They're gonna try and they're gonna have a good benchmark to follow for Q3, in particularly Lonely and Verhan as well, who will be taking part in Q3, of course. Westy has a Q3 ban, so he can't take part. But you know, that's just insane from Josh. Fair play to him.
Yeah, Cassie G in the Williams, he's on the bubble at the moment, and he's just cruising round, so I could well see him going out. As Vitinho, he's on the soft tyres, he's trying to improve. Glock, what's he doing? I don't think he's got too much fuel left, and he may have invalidated his first lap. Ditto with Infamous Pillars as well, so it could be a similar session to last time, where if you invalidate your lap, that is going to cost you in qualifying. So checkered flag just about to come out, just a few seconds remaining. Vitinho in the Mercedes, this should be enough on those soft tyres, and there we go, a second up on his personal best. So this is going to be round about what low 135s, high 134s, but obviously on a step softer tyres than Josh. And actually no, Vitinho's invalidated his lap, so he's going out of this session. That might just save Cassie G.
Yeah, that was start of sector 3 pretty much. That is awful, because I wonder what he would have done if he was making it into Q3, and I think he would have done enough, I think, or just been in the bubble. So I mean, that is unfortunate for him. And Glock, he's done enough. He's in P3. That pushes Cassie G out of the picture as well. And I think all four drivers can not failed yet to improve on their lap times. So that is Cassie G, Vitinho, Zoo F1 and Infamous out of Q2.
Yeah, Koala just getting through. And we said earlier, NUF1, I thought he'd left it a bit too late to change to them soft tyres and get out to do a fast lap, and that turns out to be the case. So one Renault going out, one showing his dominant pace at the moment. Josh only manning the 134s in that session, nearly 7/10 faster than everyone else. And it's not like Furhan, Glock and Westy are slow drivers, they are extremely quick themselves, but Josh just seems to be really enjoying this track at the moment.
Yeah, I think this is the track where some of these guys will want to put the most practice in, and you can tell by the way that his lap time were nailed on that he's put the practice in. It's one of the hardest tracks on the game to get right, and it's one of the longest races on the calendar, so of course he would. So apart from a few drivers in at the top 10, which is Westy and Silent Ace, who got Q3 bans, that leaves, I believe, 8 drivers who are going to be fighting for the pole position. And I think we'll see the soft tyres being used, because obviously they won't be using those in the race as much. So we'll see less mediums and more softs. And could we see more people into the 134s to possibly give Josh a run for his money? We'll have to wait and see, of course. But it won't be Silent and it won't be Westy. They'll be starting at the back of that little group. But it's Cassie G, Patino and the Renault, one of the Renault drivers in Infamous, that are out. But everyone else is going to try and make it to who's going to get on pole position. And another dry session, obviously. But it's going to be hard to call it between Josh and Verhan. But I think Josh's got this in the bag.
Yeah, I think you can't look past Josh. Got to say credit to Habilu getting through into Q3. He'll be starting no lower than 8th because of Westy and Silent Ace's Q3 bans. But on those soft tyres, I think he's going to be begging for a first corner or first lap incident at least, so we can get rid of those softs incredibly early on. And what they are the tyres we're going to see everyone using in this session now. It's going to be an extremely fast 12 minutes around this Marina Bay circuit. And as you can see there, everyone, on the soft tyres. So looking at what teams got both their cars through. Good session for the Toro Rosso's both getting through. Red Bull managing to get one car in as well. Well, I think Toro Rosso is actually the only team that managed to get both their cars through. So all the constructors looking very close, but good result for them, especially as they're lower down the order at the moment. Habilu used those soft tyres to get himself in. We'll see what sort of times Loney could do as well. Scored points on his debut as a full-time driver last time around. He got 6th place in Italy. Can he go any better this time? We'll have to wait and see. And that looks as though it's starting to rain again. No wonder they're all rushing out.
Yeah, it is. I was told by one of the stewards that it was going to be a dry qualifying session for Q3. Boy, were they wrong. So that means this lap is going to be it for qualify. It's going to be a short qualifying session, pretty much. It's going to be like one-shot quali, to be honest. So the one that's got clear air, they're going to have the most advantage, because if they cross the line quite early, and you can see a train of cars going through sector 2 right now. There's a Toro Rosso, there's a Mercedes as well. Jonathan Cox has binned it, and there's a McLaren that's binned it as well. There's quite a few people that got tagged up, and Jonathan Cox has got a 5-place grid penalty with a collision with Glock, so he's going to be starting no higher than where he can. And the ones that have got front wing damage, they're probably not going to take any further part in quality, because there's no way you're going to go fast on those intermediate tyres. We'll have to wait and see. But I know Josh is good at whatever the weather conditions on those soft tyres, but they're going to go ever so slowly. The rain is coming down like a ton of bricks right now, so they got to get a move on those soft tyres.
Yeah, I think Josh might have the right idea here. Just get into the pits and put the intermediates on, because DRS has been disabled. That says to me there's no way it's fast enough, and I think, as anyone, Paulie Orange, I think, is the only one who's gone for a hot lap, and I'm not sure this is the greatest idea the Haas driver has ever had. So maybe not as bad having that front wing damage for Glock and Jonathan Cox as it looked to be. Hibilo's still on an outlap, but he'll be coming into the pits. But you can just see Paulie Orange. We're seeing 26 seconds first sector. 26 seconds, he's only just come onto Raffles Boulevard at the moment. He's going to be way down, nearly 10 seconds slower. At 34 seconds, he's just going to dive into the pits. And yeah, intermediate tyres are going to be the way, but it could still pretty much be a one-shot qualifying. I think Josh might be glad that the rain came down a bit harder then, because he was right at the back of that queue and he'd have found himself getting held up quite badly.
Yeah, I think Josh was doing a little bit of a rain dance, I think, in the garage, and was hoping that the rain was going to come down sooner, and it did. So hopefully he's going to get those inters on, and I think that's what most people are doing now, as quite a few people want to get out of the pits very quickly. We see a Toro Rosso Lonely going out quickly as well. I did see someone else go out. It is Koala in the Red Bull. We also seen Josh, who's gone out as well. Pretty much everyone is going out, apart from Paulie Orange, who is, I think he's probably going to go into the pits, that's for sure, as he's almost binned it in the start of Sector 3. That is not what you want, because that could be the end of your qualifying session. He's just struggling, especially around this corner, where they're probably going to have the most damage if they hit a wall. He's got to make sure he gets all 4 wheels on the track.
Yeah, we'll see. Going very steady around there. Don't want to understeer into the wall, because that would mean he would start behind Silent Ace and Westy as well, I believe, if he crashes out. But no, he's just keeping the Haas pointing in the right direction just about. And yeah, is Paulie Orange gonna, well, he's carrying on here again. I'm not sure this is the wisest idea, because it's going to get wetter. He's going to set a lap time 2 minutes 10.596. So if you want an idea of how good the slick tyres are in wet conditions, the answer is no good at all. You'd be lapped after about 4 or 5 laps at this pace, which is about what I would be in any league race anyway, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But we'll see what times everyone else can do on the intermediate tyres. Westy obviously still in the pits with his qualifying ban. Silent Ace was already retired from the session, but Paulie Orange, he could end up kicking himself if he ends up crashing here.
Yeah, because he can start 8, and you don't want to start in the mid-pack in Singapore, because there's a lot of people that are going to make mistakes, in particular people at the back, and there's going to be people crashing into you. So Paulie Orange has got to make sure he gets way into the pits quickly, and he's running out of fuel as well. And I'm not surprised, to be honest, because you're going to use more fuel if you're struggling on those slick tyres, and it's going to be close. But I'm going to see if anyone on those inters are close to starting a lap. Furhan is starting a lap going into turn 1. Already you can see that he's got the car planted more than obviously Paulie Orange has, and I can already tell he's going to be faster than the slick tyres right now.
Yeah, there will be having slightly compromised setups, of course, if the race forecast is to be dry. They won't be on the full wet setup, so ride heights will be slightly different, spring settings different, a bit less downforce than they'd ideally like as well in these conditions, with the race predicted to be dry. But you can see he's so much faster than Paulie Orange through the first sector, about 5 seconds faster. Fastest time, I think, in these conditions was about a 1:52, I believe, from Josh in the first session. So whether it's wet or dry, he looks confident, and this should mean that the soft tyres that they're using, well, they won't be using the soft tyres to start the race, obviously, because they start on the mediums that they had, but they will have a fresher set of soft tyres towards the end of the race. We've got yellow flags in sector 3, and that is Paulie Orange, who has found the wall, but luckily for him, he's got all 4 wheels still on that hash.
Yeah, he hit the wall again as well. I mean, as long as he doesn't hit another wall, he should be fine, and I think he has enough time to go. He's not going out again, is he? No, he's not. He's going into the pits. He does have enough time to go out again, luckily. So that's probably going to be a relief for him as well. That will mean everyone is on the intermediate tyres as well, as Furhan has got a few more corners to go before he's the first person to set a representative lap time in this qualifying. It can get a bit twitchy towards these final few corners, obviously in the wet, because obviously you have a dry setup. Furhan's going to cross the line, and it's a 150.669 for the Mercedes driver. Lonely comes across the line, it's a 151.656 for him. Koala, he's going through the penultimate few corners of the circuit then, and we'll see if he can improve as well. It doesn't look like it though, because he's on a 147 at the moment, but he's probably going to be, I think, fourth at the moment, or no, third at the moment actually, and it is third for Koala. And Jonathan Cox, he's invalidated. He has to go in there quick if he wants to set a representative lap time. Hibilu's going through the same set of corners. Now I do believe, Josh did invalidate actually, so he has to go out again.
Yeah, Josh has got plenty of time to go out again, as we see Hibilu here. This is going to put him in 5th position now, ahead of Paulie Orange. You can see just behind Koala at the moment. Jonathan Cox had invalidated. We're seeing now Paulie Orange, he is getting back out on those intermediate tyres, so he's going to have time for one run. Josh, he's going to have time for one run as well. So to be honest, I'm surprised a few more drivers didn't just put a bit more fuel in their cars to stay out for a few laps, because that is the more common theme to what you do in a wet qualifying session. You put a bit heavier fuel in just so you can get used to the car in these conditions and let the confidence grow, because obviously track conditions changing all the time. It looks as though it's going to be a lot wetter maybe next time around, although Furhan is still improving.
Yep, he is. He's just, I think he's going to be the one that challenges Josh right now, and I think Josh will probably be kicking himself that he invalidated, because that could be his qualifying session over and could be the streak of bad Q3 sessions continued, as Verhan, I believe, invalidates again, so he goes in, but I think he has time for one more, but he should be fine, because obviously he's going to probably stay in the top 5 at least, as Lonely comes across the line now, and it's a 154.5, and he does not improve. As Verhan retires then, I think the conditions must be getting worse, so as obviously Westy retires from his quali ban, so this could be an early end to this qualifying, unless Josh could do something about it.
Yeah, we'll see what sort of time Loney can do then, because I think he was just on a cool-down lap, but going a bit deep then into turn 5, compromising his run slightly down the straight, but we'll just see what sort of times he can do. If he can go faster than last time, he is actually 3 tenths up, so the grip is definitely there. I think the game's just looking a bit deceptive with the rain coming down at the moment, but they're really putting themselves under pressure, those that have yet to set a lap time. Obviously Silent Ace Westy with that qualifying ban, Jonathan Cox with a 5-place grid penalty as well, so he's going to find it very difficult. So Hibilu in the Toro Rosso going on those soft tyres in Q2 might have got him a 7th place grid position here, and maybe if Josh invalidates again, he's currently in 5th, if Paulie Orange invalidates his lap as well, we could see a Toro Rosso starting a lot higher up the grid than he expected. He's expecting hell in the first few laps of the race, but we'll have to see. Glock's retired from the session in the pit, so he can't get any higher than 3rd position, the reserve driver in the McLaren. Loney, purple again in sector 2. He needs to find a 2nd on his personal best to beat Furhan. It looks like he's doing it at the moment. Can he drop the Toro Rosso into the 149s? Very smooth through the final sector, going under the grandstand, perhaps going a bit deeper than you'd ideally like to do around turn 18. We've got yellow flags in sector 2, and that's just for Hibilu slowing down. So Loney coming around the final couple of corners now. Don't want to take too much curb in these wet conditions. It could spit you towards the barrier, and he must have lost time in that final sector because he was purple in the first two, but second place, still a very good lap and a big improvement on his previous one.
He was in the 151s before, but now he's in the 150s now, so I don't think he's going to have enough ERS to go again, so that's probably his qualifying over as well. We'll have to wait and see if Josh goes purple in any sector. Josh, a 29.8 for him in sector 1. I don't think it was purple though, but I think it'll be enough to improve to get himself higher up the order as well. What about Jonathan Cox? Does he? Oh, nope, he hits the wall, so I think that's his qualifying done. I think he's got off a bit of his end plate as well. We'll have to wait and see there, but Josh is just getting quicker and quicker. We'll just have to keep an eye on him as well. And there's a few people that have been on these inters for quite a bit. Koala is wanting to get that confidence in as well, but he's invalidated, so he's going to go into the pits. That's Paulie Orange's no, it's not Paulie Orange's qualifying session. I think we got a timing glitch, I think, on our screens. I think people are still going, of course. Ibilu has retired from the session as well, so I think they can't get any better. So I don't know. I thought Josh was going to have this in the bag, but I think Josh may be struggling just a little bit as he gets his tyres into temperature on those inters as he goes through the final few corners now. Can he get into the 150s? He's getting closer and closer. You can't take too much curb once again, and he does. A 150.1 for the Renault driver. That is enough for pole position, and Loney can't improve. I don't think Koala can. He's invalidated. I think it's all up to Jonathan Cox, but I don't think Jonathan Cox is gone even faster. So I think unless Jonathan Cox does a miracle drive, then that's Josh for pole position.
Yeah, and even if Jonathan Cox does go faster with that qualifying ban, it won't really count as a pole position. So let's see what the Racing Point can do. This is not going to be enough, but how far up the order is it going to get him? He's ran out of all of his ERS, and that is 5th, so that'll put him in 10th place. Paulie Orange, he's just on a cool down lap. Koala has invalidated, so it doesn't seem to matter what conditions you throw at Josh around Singapore. He will deal with them. Half a second ahead of Farhan. It's pole for the Renault Mercedes driver in second, and Loney in third. You can see quite a big gap there to Glock, Jonathan Cox, Paulie Orange, Koala, Hibilu 8th in that session, and obviously Silent Ace and Westy not setting a time. But if Josh's race pace is anything like his qualifying pace, it looks like it's going to be a straightforward win and extending that championship lead.
Yes, he was looking quite confident in Monza, where he got a 3rd place, obviously. And like I said last week, he's one of the only drivers since his debut in France to score no lower than 3rd place. And that's just saying something. Consistency is key right now. 7 podiums out of 7, 2 poles and 2 wins. And this is going to be pole number 3 for Josh. The only other driver to get 3 poles and 3 wins is Thomas last time out in Monza. Can Josh be the second person to make it a 3rd win? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, he's looking very good for that, of course, on pole position. Farhan second, Loney 3rd, Glock 4th. Jonathan Cox's 5th place penalty will drop him down to 10th. So Paulie Orange in the Haas will be in 5th. Koala in the Red Bull 6th. Hibilu, his best qualifying by a long way, put him in 7th. Silent Ace will be 8th. Westy 9th. And those who said Jonathan Cox will be in 10th position. And it is, remember, going to be a dry race, so qualifying seems to be about 50% wet, 50% dry, hopefully for these drivers. The next 31 laps will be nice and dry and they won't have to worry, although it does always make the strategies a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, most likely, obviously the top 10, they'll be starting on the medium compounded tyres and then switching to the hards, but there may be a safety car and they may want to try and get the hards going as well. But it is an interesting call because safety cars are quite common around here, especially if they hit the walls too much and hit the sometimes the glitchy barriers. So they just got to be on their A game. It's kind of like an endurance race. They got to focus for almost an hour of this race, pretty much, for 50 minutes probably, if there's no safety cars. But I'm almost certain there's going to be safety cars. So, you know, as the drivers are going to be readying up, of course, as we've got, I do believe, Artilio has joined the session as he's starting last place. He did join at the end of Q2, so he joined on time there. But he'll be starting at the back of grid, of course. And I'm not sure if he has free. I think he does. Yeah, he does have free choice of tyres, and hopefully he's given enough time for a setup. He should do anyway. So that's 17 drivers, of course. Who's your money on for the win? I can't put my money past Josh, to be honest. I mean, Josh has been astonishing throughout the whole of this lobby so far.
Yeah, I think if it's a standard race and no incidents or safety cars, you can't look past Josh. I'm interested to see how Glock does with his race pace. He was fast when he was first in FOR before he left the season quite a long time ago, right near the early stages. Didn't really hook it together in the qualifying session, I don't think, especially not on the intermediate tyres, but still managed to get 4th position. So it wouldn't surprise me if he moved his way up. Westy we've seen move up from the back of the grid to get points in both Hungary and Italy, so if he keeps it clean and stays away from incidents, he could get himself on the podium as well, I think.
Yeah, I think most of these fast drivers will probably benefit from other drivers making mistakes as well. And to be honest, in most Singapore races I've watched, if you survive, you'll be rewarded with the goods, to be honest, because we've seen, I think Singapore's the most common track, as well as all the other street circuits, where they get the most retirements, especially if it rains. But luckily they won't have to face the weatherman today in the race, so they don't have nothing to worry about. But they just got to keep their nose clean in the first couple of laps. The race is not over in lap 1, so they can't go and dive it too much if they're lower down, of course. But the guys like Artilio, for example, he can drop back a bit, and then when other people make mistakes, he can make a few positions there as well. There's quite a few drivers that could benefit from this as well. Westy and Jonathan Cox being right in the middle of the pack, actually, so they're probably going to struggle a little bit. But Westy, I hope, doesn't get caught up in incidents. I hope anyone doesn't get caught up in incidents, but I'll probably just jinx myself. But as they all go towards the line now to start the race, as Josh leads the field away for the Singapore Grand Prix. 31 laps await our drivers. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Hibilo gets on from 7th on those soft tyres, and Den's the only other driver on the soft. Artiero, Vitinho and Aylan on the hards. Everyone else on those medium tyres, as we just wait now for Artiero. Obviously driving a Red Bull tonight, because the game, if you join late, doesn't let you choose the car, but he's normally an Alfa Romeo driver, and they're both going to have to fight their way up right from the back of the grid. See the engine notes rising here at Singapore. Who's going to dazzle under the lights tonight as we wait now for the red lights to come on? We've got 5 lights here at the Marina Bay Circuit, and we are underway, and Den's getting a drive-through penalty straight away for a jump start. It's a good start from Furhan. He's already got himself alongside Josh, and he leads coming through turns 1 and 2. So Furhan taking the lead from Josh. Loney behind, Glock in 4th. Hibilu having a battle with Koala as well. Westy's managed to get himself ahead of Silent Ace, and Den's doing probably what the best thing to do is if you get a jump start, which is just go with it and not try to save it. He's managed to get himself up into 9th place, but Josh jumped on the start by Furhan in the slipstream of the Mercedes, not be able to have a go into turn 6 this time around, as Glock trying to go round the outside of Loney, as he just got enough of his car alongside to have a go into the next right-hander. He has, but Loney holding that off, and now Glock having to drop behind. Jonathan Cox, he's dropped a place as well behind, and Denge, who will have to pit in the next 3 laps. Won't be surprising to know that he is the biggest winner on these first 7 places. A few of them gained slightly illegitimately. Artiero.
Oh! There's a huge pile up in, I can't remember what, sector 2. I think there was a Red Bull involved of Artilio, and Infamous as well. And I think I saw more cars getting involved. That's front wing damage for, I think, all of them. Not as much as I would have thought, but the Red Bull, that was almost lucky to be a bad jump, but luckily no safety car, just a yellow flag. The first mistake of the day for some of these drivers. That gave me a heart attack. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was just about to say Artiero's getting 5 places, but he's quickly lost all of them and trying to see if he's got any major damage on his front wing. It doesn't look in too bad a shape, so he should be able to carry on for the rest of the race in from the pillars.
He's lost the end plate.
Well, now he's definitely got some more damage, so yeah. Furhan's leading this race. Josh not too far behind. Loney third, Glock fourth, Polly Orange fifth. So Furhan and Josh, the only switch around in positions. Hibilu gaining a place, as you'd expect him to do, starting on those soft tyres. But it won't be long before he starts feeling the heat from those behind, especially this man. 8th place at the moment, Westy in the Williams. What can he do? He's going to get in the slipstream of Koala. No DRS this time around, so he won't be able to overtake. And Josh really closing on the back of Furhan. Expect him to be looking hot next time around. Loney's dropped just behind a second, but I think already Hibilu starting to hold up those behind him on those soft tyres. So normally Singapore's not the easiest circuit to overtake on. When you get a car in front who's a bit slower, that is when you start seeing the incidents.
Yeah, definitely. 3 or 4 laps is the optimum pace on those tyres before they start to potentially go into puncture territory now. And I think we're already starting to see a queue start to form from Hibilo in 6th place and Koala in 7th. And you can just see that Koala is so eager to get past. But I'm liking what Westy's doing right now. He's dropping back a little bit because obviously if Hibilo hits Koala, there'll be a lot of tag team effect where they probably hit Westy as well. So I'm guessing he just wants to wait to see what these two can do, and then if they have an issue, then he could just breeze past, which I think is the right thing to do on this occasion. And Denji is right behind Westy as well, and obviously Silent Ace, Jonathan Cox, Kazzy G and Alphin as well. They're also in that train with a Denji as well, so hopefully they're going to get past him very soon as well.
Yeah, and Denji's going to have to pit though because of a drive-through penalty as well, so double pain coming for the Alfa Romeo driver. DRS has been enabled this time around, so this is really going to be Josh's chance to get past Furhan as long as he keeps it nice and clean through turn 5. I think Furhan got a slightly better corner, getting a better exit, but now DRS is open on that Renault, and the Mercedes is going to have to go defensive into turn 6 here, and he's just about covered Josh off for now. Loney and Glock. Oh, I thought there was going to be a bit of contact there, but Loney somehow just coming out ahead, and Paulie Orange hanging on to the back of those. So Furhan, you must have a pretty rapid Mercedes in a straight line, because Josh definitely didn't catch up as much as you'd expect him to.
Yeah, definitely. And whilst that was happening, Westy got past Hibilo for 7th place, so he's only got medium runners in front of him as well. And Westy's not that far from Koala either as well. And Hibilu's dropped down a few places. You can see he's struggling. He's got a pit for the medium tyres because he's got the cars behind him that if he makes a mistake, he's going to bump into. So he's got to get a move on and get on those mediums quick.
Yeah, and then sort of bumped his way past Hibilo, and that allowed Silent Ace to get through, and now Jonathan Cox sending it down the inside there at turn 15. Great move by the Racing Point driver. Pretty aggrieved, I think it's fair to say, after that 5th place penalty in qualifying, and unfortunately for him, nothing he can do to appeal that, but he's got himself up into the points. Sole Racing Point driver at the moment, got a yellow flag in Sector 3, and that is Arturo.
16th in, I think, start Sector 3.
Yeah, again facing the wrong way, and now he's got still with that damage on the front wing. Started on the hards, trying to make them last as long as possible, but really not going well for him so far in this race. As there we see, and Denj has come in. That will be before he stopped go for his drive-through penalty, sorry, in Hibilo in to change his tyres. This time Josh looks a lot closer to the back of Furhan, so this might be a better opportunity. The Mercedes is going to have to go defensive much earlier. In fact, he's left that gap down the inside. That's all the invitation Josh needs. Bumps Furhan off slightly, but that was fair. And as we can see, is Furhan going to try and shove his nose down the inside? Hops over the curb. That loses you all your momentum. So Josh takes the lead. Lone is still ahead of Glock and Paulie Orange, not too far behind either. Westy fighting with Koala for 6th and 7th. The Red Bull, I think, starting to hold Westy up ever so slightly. But now we've seen Andenj and Hibilu come in, but Andenj is going to have to go through the pits once again. And Infamous Pillars out of this race already. He's pulled into the pit lane and retired. Our first victim here of the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think he's probably given up. He's probably got a few front wing changes to deal with, and obviously if you pit for quite a lot of times, then you're going to run out of tyres to use in the race, and you're probably going to have less wear as well. So bear in mind, Infamous has made 2 stops, whereas everyone has either made no stops or 1 stop, in Camille's case, to pit for the set of the hard compound tyres. So, but I thought he would have gone on for longer, but I'm guessing he just doesn't like Singapore as much. But they are encouraged to keep going, of course. Still some mini battles that we're seeing at the moment on the circuit, which is great to see at the moment. Westy's still not able to get past Koala though right now, but he's got DRS though. Is he going to get the lunge to turn 1 like he think he's going to do? Nope, he's not. He's not on overtake mode, but he's still using his DRS quite high at the moment, so he's got to do a little bit of saving, because there's going to be another DRS straight coming very soon. And yes, he's going into overtake now. He's read my mind as Koala has gone a bit wide there. Westy getting the better line into this turn coming up now. He's going to go to the left hand side. I think he's going to get the move done, and he does, and he's up into P6.
Yeah, Koala trying to fight back though. He's going to have to go round the outside. That'd be a very brave move, and not able to. So that is the move done for Westy. Glock trying to get past Loney there. In fact, now Surface has managed to sneak his way past Koala. I'm sure was compromised by taking that outside line. So Westy and Surface both had them Q3 bans. Doesn't seem to have affected them too much. They're now up into 6th and 7th. The big question is for them, can they catch up to Paulie Orange, who is now 6 seconds ahead? He is on the back of this battle between Glock and Loney. In fact, Loney seems to have got away from Glock ever so slightly, so maybe this will give Paulie Orange a chance to have a go at overtaking the McLaren. Out in front though, it is Josh at the moment in the lead of this race, about a second ahead of Furhan. That is all important. If he gets any more than a second ahead of the Mercedes, then Furhan will not be able to use the drag reduction system.
Yep, and you're about to go to the DRS detection point right now, and I think Furhan, yep, no DRS for him, so that's going to cost him even more time, as Josh just really wants to get out of the DRS quickly, which he does as well. And obviously Lonely's I think has got no DRS either from Verhan, as Glock tries to make past him as well. There's quite a few drivers that have lost DRS due to either the driver in front really increasing their pace a little bit, so that's going to be worrying for some of these drivers. But we've got Koala dropping down a few positions, but he's starting to gain quite a little bit to come on and combat to Silent Ace, of course. So we've got Glock and Lonely going for a battle. The same move as Josh was Westy was trying to do earlier, but I think Glock is saying, see you later, you're not having P3, and he keeps it.
Yeah, he got a much better exit off turn 5 than Loney did. Really compromising running along Raffles Boulevard through 6, and Glock straight around the outside. Nothing much Toro Rosso can do about that. The McLaren has looked very racy. Let's see if he can now maybe escape. This field definitely seems to be breaking up into a few groups. Jonathan Cox, he's now finding himself getting held up by Koala. I don't think he's quite on the pace of Westy and Silent Ace at the moment in this race. We'll see who's pitted in the early stages. You can see there the bottom 3 drivers having all pitted, and Denge technically has done too, as he had that stop go penalty as well. And further behind these guys that are on screen as well, NUF1 not too long ago getting past Alan, as those hard tyres still not the optimal ones to be on. You really want to be on these medium tyres. How long can the drivers make them last there, especially those that started in the top 10, as Jonathan Cox looking very racy at the moment behind Koala. Not really a passing opportunity anywhere in this final sector though, unless the car in front makes a mistake.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Koala is keeping his car on the track, so that's going to be harder for Jonathan Cox to deal with. But Jonathan Cox went a bit wide there. He's too much curb the knee with the light, and that's going to compromise him into turn 1, and he's not going to use the drag reduction system to his advantage. But he's getting even closer onto this first part of sector 1, which probably he could benefit from being in DRS, but Koala would like to be out of it, but that's not going to help him as much. But you can see Koala is pulling away there, getting the better entry there. So I think Jonathan Cox is going to find it hard to try and get past him already. As they touch, and Jonathan Cox has spun in that tight little corner there, and I think he made a little bit of a mistake there, as he went a bit too optimistic on the move, and I don't know if he's got damage out. I don't think Koala's got damage, unless the graphics tell me otherwise, but yeah. that could have been worse for both of those drivers, but luckily I think it was probably just a spin for Jonathan. Yeah, it looks like it, to be honest. So luckily he's got away with that, but I'm sure the stewards may have something to say about that if it gets reported.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Koala left the door open, but I think that's because he thought, as did I, that Jonathan Cox was too far behind to make a move. The Racing Point driver obviously had different ideas, and luckily for the pair of them, they've come out undamaged. Maybe just a bit of pride damage there for Jonathan Cox as he now tries to catch his way back up to Koala. Now he's 3 seconds behind. Paulie Orange in 5th position. He's now slowly dropping off Loney and Glock, and there we can see Furhan, he's actually dropping back from Josh quite severely now. The gap 2.6 seconds, so will Glock and Loney be able to drag each other up and maybe make this a three-way battle for 2nd position? But Josh looking pretty good at the moment as we see actually Koala into the pits. First driver pitting on those medium tyres. And is that a new front wing? No, it is not. So hard tyres on. He'll be hoping to take those towards the end of the race. Great work from the Red Bull crew. And he's going to come out in 12th position.
Yeah, that's pretty good for him. A good medium stint as well. And obviously up due to that mistake that he had with Jonathan, but obviously he went a bit wide there, so that might cost him a bit more time. But apart from that, he drove very well in the first part as well. Will the other drivers respond to that at the front of the field that were near him at the point where Koala was going to go into the pits? It's going to be a tough call because you know you can push your mediums a bit longer, but it's going to be tight. They're going to hope the mediums last, obviously, a bit longer, of course. Some of the guys may think it's too early for Koala to go in. Some think it might be just right, but obviously the hards last longer than any tyre around here, obviously, but they're not the best race tyre at the start. But usually it's best when it's a little bit worn at the start because you get a little bit of a feel for it. So I think Koala is going to be extremely quick when it gets to about lap 10 or 11, I think. So just watch out for him then. But as Josh, he stays out, I do believe Verhan is going into the pits. Yes, he is. And Glock's staying out. Quite a mixture of drivers, strategies at the moment. Lonely is going into the pits as well. And Paulie Orange stays out too. Westy stays out. Silent Ace stays out. Let's see what Jonathan Cox does in at the Racing Point. He's in as well. So I think it's been pretty much half and half. Some of them are opting to pit on the hard tyres and get it done early. Some of them are staying out, of course, but some of them have their other teammates to think about, so they have to stay out for them, of course. But I'm not surprised Verhan has gone out to go on the hards because he wants to try and get the undercut on Josh, which could still be possible.
Yeah, I can see why he's going for that, but if I'm being honest, I don't think the undercuts may be as much of a factor around this circuit as it is at quite a lot of others, purely because we saw in qualifying, mediums and hard tyres, there was 2 seconds difference nearly between the pair of them, so even these worn out mediums, I think they're going to be fairly comparable lap time wise to these hard tyres, so we'll have to see if it works for Furhan. Loney's only 2 seconds behind him, so I think actually the Toro Rosso driver, who was in 4th position before that pit stops period, has actually gained a bit of time compared to them. And you can see actually Jonathan Cox and Koala, that gap was just under 4 seconds. It is now pretty much bang on 4 seconds, so maybe you do gain a tiny bit of time, but whether it's going to be enough for Furhan to jump Josh, we'll have to wait and see. So here we go now, the race leader in the Renault on lap 9, is he going to react to the pit stop of the Mercedes driver? And yeah, Josh coming in from the race lead. I imagine Glock will be coming in as well just to cover off Loney behind and some of the others coming in. So we're seeing the first scheduled pit stops of all those on the medium tyres, and that is going to put Aylan then in the race lead, but I'm not sure how long he's going to be there because he's got a pair of Mercedes right behind him.
Yeah, definitely as well. Where is Furhan going to come out on all of this? He's in traffic. That's not going to help him at all. As Josh is coming out, it's going to be close to see who's going to come out in the net lead. Is it going to be Josh or is it going to be Furhan? It looks like it's going to be Josh, and I think that traffic has cost Furhan, and Josh has hit the wall into out the pit lane. That might cost him a bit as well, but he is in front of behind his teammate, which is going to give him a bit of a tow as well. But that's definitely costed Furhan where he comes out, because he's got obviously he got past his teammate. He's got to worry about getting past Elhan now in the McLaren, and it's no easy feat. Hopefully Alhan moves out of the way, which I do believe he does. Yes, he does. So Verhan is into fourth, but that's costed him so much time.
Yeah, and actually the undercut did work for Loney. He's got ahead of Glock, and they're right behind Coutinho at the moment is Loney as he tries to send one up the inside of the Mercedes, who spun round. Loney's into the wall as well, and Glock says, thank you very much, I'll just get past the pair of you. So Loney perhaps a bit impatient there trying to get past Coutinho. I don't think was expecting an overtaking manoeuvre there into turns 8 and 9. It's not a conventional place, but now Loney has that front wing damage. The Mercedes does as well. Josh getting ahead of his teammate, but he also has end plate damage, so that might not affect his pace too much compared to the others. We saw in qualifying some of those who did have end plate damage were managing to set fairly decent lap times, but later on, as the tyres begin to wear a bit more, that's when it could become more of an issue. He's about to retake the lead of this race as Paulie Orange comes into the pits, and I imagine NUF1 will be as well. But Loney, a bit of a big loser at that point. Glock's managed to get ahead of him now. He's got a lot of substantial front wing damage. He definitely won't be able to carry on for a long time without pitting. I'm sure he's going to lose chunks of time, and indeed Vittorio Rosso is heading into the pits, and that's going to promote Westy up a couple of places. And Silent Ace, not sure if he had to make a front wing change or something in that pit stop, because he's dropped a long way down the order compared to where he was earlier.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened there, but I think he has dropped down order due to a front wing change. He might have binned it somewhere, and he might have got collected maybe with because he was stuck in traffic, I believe, with the likes of Verhan and the McLaren as well. So maybe that might be the cause of the issue. I don't know, but or maybe his pit crew just weren't ready for him, or something like that. I don't know, but we won't know obviously until we've seen his POV of what happened. As NUF1 has had Verhan got past him now, and you can see that he's not liking these conditions right now, and he's going to want to go on the hards pretty quickly, but almost certainly that NUF1 will get through to the end of the race as Paulie Orange on the fresher set of hards. He comfortably gets past Coutinho in at the Mercedes as he's up into P6 right now. He's still doing quite well on the circuit right now, but he's got to get past Arhan as well. That's going to be a tough order as well. But all of this is allowing Josh to pull away once again, like he did well, to be honest, pretty much towards the mid part of the first stint.
Yeah, but he's definitely not pulling away like he was earlier because of that damage. I think Josh was hoping NUF1 would be able to do a better job of holding Verhan up than he did, but there's 10 lap old medium tyres. I think are well past their sell-by date. They're going to be turned into the protection and padding for a playground, I think, shortly. As Josh is diving into the pits. He's decided he's had enough of that front wing damage. Josh in the pits. I don't think you're going to get mediums to last to the end from now, so he's going to go onto the hard tyres. This could really shake things up, and it is another set of hard tyres. Where is he going to come out? I'd imagine behind Jonathan Cox, actually, quite a long way down the order, outside the points even for Josh. So that front wing damage could really cost him here in this race. He looks so fast through qualifying. He's down in 12th. He is going to be absolutely lightning to watch for the rest of this race to see how far up the order he can get. But it is now Verhan Racer in the lead of this race by 1.8 seconds from Glock. NUF1 is in third position. He's still hanging around, and I think deciding not to pit after he saw Josh come in, but I think getting held up by his teammate might have been preferable to staying out on those medium tyres as Paulie Orange makes his way past Alan, and we can see further down the field Silent Ace and Cassie G battling. Alan's got a good run though. Surely you can't go round the outside at the Singapore Sling. He's gone for it, and I think Paulie Orange was a bit forgiving there and just said, yeah, you've got the momentum, I'll just let you have that place and try and get you a bit later on.
Yeah, I think so as well. You don't want to cause too much damage, to be honest, as well, as Jonathan gets his next 3-second time penalty as well. Westy gets past Coutinho. Westy very cheekily trying to not give any of the cars behind him a bit of slipstream, which is fair enough. You get a lot of slipstream on this circuit as well, but it is going to be time for Paulie Orange to get past him. He's going to lose a chunk of time on these tyres as well. Obviously Koala and Jonathan Cox, the only other guys to have pitted, as well as Silent Ace, of course. Obviously Coutinho still yet to pit as well, but he's still catching up with these chain of cars as well. But everybody else, they just got to get their move on, really. As well, on lap 13 and 31, we got a yellow flag, and I do believe it's Artilio again in 16th.
Yeah, he's really not enjoying this track at the moment. Down in 16th.
Oh, he's spun again.
Yeah, as I said, now he's got no front wing whatsoever, so he's really struggling. Paulie Orange trying to get a good exit here out of turn 5 to have a run on Aylan. It wouldn't surprise me if Altiero becomes a second retirement. Paulie Orange needs to get this done pretty quick because Westy's not too far behind him either, so Paulie Orange this time sending it down the inside at turn 6, and Aylan still got plenty of grip on those hard tyres, and this is really allowing Westy and Vitinho to stay in contact as well. Westy in 6th at the moment. We know Aylan and NUF1 have got to pit, and he's looking very racy behind the back of Paulie Orange. He could get a podium here despite having that Q3 ban, and I'm sure he'd have definitely taken that. Further up in front though, we don't want to take our eyes off this battle. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Glock has got within a second of Fairhand Racer. Could he make a triumphant comeback to FOR as Paulie Orange trying to get the cutback coming out of the hairpin there. He's going to head side by side with the McLaren down towards turn 15, but this time the Haas driver has to stay back. He's got a better exit though, and I think this might be it. He'll have the inside for the right-hander, and finally Paulie Orange making his way through, but no, Aylan's fighting back around the outside. I don't know where he's getting this grip from. This reminded me a bit of, I think it was Perez and Sorokin in 2018, and eventually the two of them came together and it was sort of inevitable. I really hope these two don't, as there we see Artiero has retired in the pit lane. They're still side by side. This is great racing.
Oh my goodness.
You can get 2 side by side. I don't think you're going to quite manage 3 side by side when Westy tries to join in. Let's see who gets the DRS here. It's going to be Aylan and Westy. He's going to go all the way to the left hand side, and Westy might be able to set 2 in 1 here. Fantastic move from the Williams. And with NUF1 put in, that does put him up into 3rd place, and Paulie Orange, sure, he's getting a bit frustrated at seeing the back of that McLaren.
Westy, I think, has just told Paulie Orange, if anything you could do, he could do better, and Westy has proven that point right out. That's probably one of the best Singapore moves I've seen in a long time. To be honest, 3 wide does not mix in Singapore, and I think these guys have definitely proved us wrong, but I think we may see more people try that, but it could end in tears for some of these guys. But it just goes to show that Westy is a racer, and he can keep it clean when it matters, and he doesn't go for the moves when he can't go for a move. When he senses an opportunity, he can go for it, and he's one of the fastest drivers in this grid, and he's looking good to try and close in on this championship right now, with Josh lower down the field and him in 3rd place right now. Don't forget, Westy started P8 in this race. As let's see if Paulie Orange can try and get past Alan again, which finally he does after like 5 or 6 laps of trying. He's up into 4th place now.
Yeah, something must have happened to Vitinho in all in that as well, because he's now dropped to 8th. So Aylan now is going to try and battle off Koala. We just see Josh get ahead of Andenge. He's now got Hibilu ahead of him. Cassie G, who is currently in 10th place in the points, but he's on the medium tyres. So Josh can definitely still get some points in this race. But with Westy currently being in 3rd place, it looks as though the Williams driver will be the championship leader going into the final 6 races. They'll be starting at Russia next week. We're just carrying on all the way till the end of the season here, as now Vitinho does come into the pit lane, and Aylan holding off Jonathan Cox, not able to hold off Koala. Out in front though, Glock right on the back of Fairhand. This McLaren looking very racy at the moment. We've seen his teammates show some great defensive driving. I think Glock's going to have to get his elbows out to get ahead of the Mercedes here if he wants to take the lead. We're nearly at the halfway point of this race, and this duo 15 seconds ahead of Westy. Looking at this gap, Josh must be kicking himself. He's made his way up into 7th place, but he knows he was well clear and should have taken the win here.
Yeah, but he's made a lot of mistakes, of course, and it's not over until the checkered flag falls, and it's not where you start on pole position, it's where you finish, and Josh wasn't able to do that, and that mistake outside the pit lane really costed him right now, and it is Fairhand versus Glock for the race victory at the moment, where it could have been a 3-way fight for the race victory, and I think, yeah, he's definitely kicking himself, but at the moment, Josh is going to get some points, a bit of a consolation prize for him, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how far up the field he got. Given the pace that he had, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he managed to sneak up around where Koala is at the moment. Paulie Orange is 13 seconds ahead. I'm not sure whether he'll be able to get him. If he does finish in 4th and Westy finished in 3rd, that would put them tied on points. And as I quickly look at their results from the season so far, Josh would be ahead by the fact that he's got more second places. That is how close it is in the championship. Glock, though, with the DRS open behind Furhan, he doesn't have to worry about the championship as a reserve driver. He tries to go all the way around the outside at turn 6. Furhan's got the inside, just pushes Glock over the curb. He's well entitled to do that and stays in the lead for now. Further back, Aylan still holding off Jonathan Cox, and now Silent Ace catching up to the pair with these as well and nearly losing it in the Ferrari.
That was so close from Silent Ace, of course, but he's dropping back a bit, and Jonathan Cox has almost hit the McLaren again. He's making a few mistakes at the moment, which can be brought to the steward's attention, but Silent Ace is probably sensing this opportunity to get the move done if Jonathan makes more mistakes, but it is going to be tight as we're almost approaching. We are actually halfway into this race already. Lap 16 out of 31 so far. We've got literally almost got 30 laps to go. No, not 30 laps to go. What are you on about? 15 laps to go of this race, and anything can happen, of course, as obviously the McLaren driver is trying to defend for his might here. This could be an overtaking opportunity for Silent Ace in the Ferrari. Can he do it? No, not quite. He backs off for now. They start sector 3, and Glock gets another penalty. That could make or break the chances of winning or losing this race right now, as Glock is so close to Verham right now.
Yeah, we've just seen Josh make his way past Cassie G. The mediums on that Williams getting a bit worn. So Josh already up to 9th, and with the pace he's showing, I don't think it'll be too long before he's on the back of Silent Ace, especially if the Ferrari can't make his way past Aylan. Aylan definitely trying to go a long way into this race until it becomes viable to put those medium tyres on. We did see a few of the hard runners pit earlier on. So here we go at the moment. We've got Aylan 7th, Silent Ace in 8th, Loney. He was well up the field. Remember, he could have had a possible podium. He's currently down in last place as Cassie G decides enough is enough. 12 laps on those mediums. So, judging by that, Aylan's going to be staying out at least another lap or two. The tyres, of course, do last a lot longer later on in the race just because of the lower the fuel loads. I don't think there's anything the McLaren's going to be able to do. The Ferrari ahead before the braking zone. And that is a straightforward pass as you will ever see around this circuit. Silent Ace into 7th place. Up in front though, Glock and Furhan side by side heading down towards turn 14. The McLaren briefly ahead, but I don't think it's going to be for long. And Furhan fighting back as well. Glock trying to get the undercut there, coming out of the corner. Bit of wheel banging between the pair of them. Is the McLaren able to get through? We've seen plenty of side by side action.
Glock spun! Glock spun! I think they were touching earlier as well. I think they were banging wheels quite a lot there whilst I was following that battle for quite a long time actually, and I think that's what costed Glock, I think. So that's him 7 seconds down on the lead, and we could see Westy back in the picture now.
Yeah, Westy's now just 6 seconds behind Glock. I was going to say, we saw Aylan and Paulie Orange show how to drive side by side around the final few corners here at Singapore. I think we've now seen exactly the opposite of what not to do. There was just a bit too much wheel banging there. I'd love to be able to have another look at that from different angles to see whether it was Glock turning into Furhan or Furhan turning into Glock, but there was definitely a lot of wheel banging, and it wouldn't surprise me if that goes to the stewards. We've got yellow flags in sector 2 as Loney, just after he's come over the Anderson Bridge, he's now without his front wing, and that is a safety car.
Our first safety car of this race on lap 18. I was expecting it quite earlier, to be fair, right now, but this could change the outcome of this race. Will we see the likes of Verhan and Glock and Westy and anyone who's been on those hard tyres for a long time to change onto a set of the mediums? Do they have enough mediums to get it to the end? I mean, it's gonna be tough. They only lost about 10 or 11 laps or so, but don't forget they're going to be on a few laps in the safety car period, so I don't know, some of these guys who have just pitted onto the hards, like so Cassie G, he's on the hards right now. We've got people lower down that's opted to pit, they're on the medium, so quite a mixture of strategies up at the back, but obviously these guys have got to keep to their delta now, right now, and obviously no retirement of course that safety car. I think there's just a lot of front wing damage that probably caused that at the moment. I thought we were going to get a lot more safety cars than this, but I'm glad that most of these guys have kept it clean for the most part of this race, which is great to see. Of course, this is how most people should be racing, of course, as we're seeing how the what the top three are going to do. Are they going to stay out, or are they going to take the gamble and pit? Verhan's going to take the gamble then. He's going to go into the pits then. And I think Glock is probably going to do the same thing. Hopefully he has seen Verhan go into the pits. Yes, he goes into the pits as well. Westy then, I think Westy's slowing down. Yep, he's going into the pits too as well. I know Paulie Orange is probably going to go for the alternate strategy. No, he doesn't. He goes, I think everyone is probably going to dive it in to the pits. Verhan is on the medium compounded tyres. Glock is on the mediums as well. And Westy's going to have an advantage as he's going to be at the last of the teams to get past, of course. But he shot quite a bit. His team weren't ready. So that's cost him time. He's held up a little bit. I think everyone that was on those tyres at the top 10, they've decided to pit.
I don't think they really had a choice because we saw in qualifying it's about 2 seconds a lap difference. Fresh mediums compared to old hard tyres, you are going to get absolutely ruined after the pit stops. Josh has jumped Alan, and actually, despite losing a place, it's worked out pretty well for Alan keeping them hard tyres on for such a long time. He's not really lost as many positions as he perhaps could have done, and Denge he might find himself pushing his way up the order. He's come out just ahead of Alan there, maybe a bit more. He'd have got ahead of Josh, so the safety car came out at the right time for him. He's been able to gain a position, and it's brought some of these others right up to the back of the field. But it's now Verhan in the lead of this race still on lap 19 out of 31. Safety car will probably come in not at the end of this lap, at the end of lap 20 or the end of 21. And let's not forget the man who's been pretty much the man to beat all throughout this qualifying and race until he lost part of his front wing. He's now made 3 pit stops. He's in 8th position. I think Josh is going to be very feisty. We know he's not scared of throwing it down the inside. How far up the field can the Renault make it?
I think some people's saving grace was the safety car, and I think Josh was pretty much relieved that the safety car was deployed, and so is Adenji as well. Had to go on those soft tyres quite early on as well, but Adenji had hardly any mediums to use up, so he's going to be looking pretty feisty as well. And there was other guys who were on those softs at the start of the race that could benefit as well. The only ones that would not benefit is Cassie G and Loney. They've been on the mediums for 4 laps already, even 5 laps, so they're going to struggle towards the end. We could get into punter territory coming up soon as well, but to be honest, I've got to say a podium is not ruled out for Josh at this moment.
Yeah, penalties now could play a bit of a bigger part. That all the field have gone together. I know he has at least 1 penalty. Glock has some as well. I think Verhan has kept it clean. I'm surprised Cassie G and Loney haven't come in. All I can imagine is that they don't have any fresh sets of mediums left, so it might be a last couple of lap fight for the fastest lap point, because here in FOR it doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 or not. As long as you finish the race, you will get the point for fastest lap. Doesn't matter what place you're in, whether you're first like Verhan or 15th like Loney at the moment. And it was his damage that caused the safety car. And yeah, even though he's changed his front wing, he's come back out on 4 lap medium tyres. So I think, yeah, definitely didn't have any fresh tyres left, as now Cassie G comes into the pit lane, and most of the field have bunched up apart from the 2 at the back. So we see how effective slipstreaming is in the early stages and battling, and with DRS trained, of course, that is going to come around in 2 laps after the safety car comes in. It's going to be a very interesting last 12 laps here at Singapore.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be a sprint to the finish for some of these guys, and they won't have to pit unless there's another safety car, of course. Bring it on, and I think the ones we're looking at who has gained the most out of everyone so far. Adenji has gained 7 places, and obviously the McLaren has gained 5 places. Westy's gained 6 from his P8. Jonathan Cox, I think, has had a saving grace as well. He has gained 5 as well. The big loser is obviously Josh, who's dropped 7. Hibili, who's dropped 4. Lonely, he is the biggest loser out of everyone, has dropped 11 places off his starting position due to his damage earlier on as well. And I don't think those tyres are going to do any well or good towards the end there. So I think for him, it's just damage limitation for him.
Yeah, him and Cassie G have made 4 pit stops, and Cassie G coming back out on on 1 lap old hard tyres. So those would have been the ones he started the race on. So I wonder whether he's got any softs left, and he will go out towards the end. Here on lap 20, we saw quite often last week in Italy, as the safety car is coming in this lap, safety cars tend to lead to other safety cars. They kept it all clean in the early stages, and apart from a bit of wheel banging, and we saw that incident with the Red Bull of Artiero on lap 1. I haven't really seen many incidents involving multiple cars. Whether that will change this time around, we'll have to see. Fairhand, he is now effectively the safety car. Hopefully we won't get anything like we saw in the F1 Rewind and Glock won't punt it into the back of him and then swerve into the Mercedes, as the track debris has all been cleared up now. Westy looking good. As things stand, he would take the championship lead from Josh, and Fairhand surely is going to have to go pretty soon. There we go. Paulie Orange got a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, and I think Fairhand went a bit too early there. The safety car's not quite in the pits. It's all kicked off here. Something's happened here. Glock's had to go to pits.
Glock's retired as well.
Yeah, Koala's up into second. I think Fairhand misjudged where the safety car was, nearly overtook it, had to slam on the brakes. Glock went into the back of Fairhand. That damaged his front wing and has led to a retirement. Koala has got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. He's just trying to go. Josh has already jumped his way back past Silent Ace. He's up into 6th. We know Paulie Orange just got that penalty as well. 10 seconds, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets that removed, as Jonathan Cox in the slipstream of Paulie Orange, not able to do anything. But I think Koala getting ahead of the Red Bull. All that confusion started with Fairhand just mistiming when the safety car was coming in. He had to slam on the brakes, and that caught everyone unawares, but it's worked out well for him. He's already 1.5 seconds ahead, and Westy, I think, needs to get past Koala as quickly as possible, but no DRS for the rest of this lap and next time around.
Yep, I think Fairhand misjudged, obviously, when you can go green, of course, and usually the green flags come out when you cross the start-finish line, and that's where Fairhand can really floor it, to be honest. And I think you can see Glock was responding to Fairhand's call, like, say, right, if Fairhand's going, I'll be going, and so as soon as Fairhand slowed down, then that caused him to retire, of course. And what a shame for that, because he could have been on for a good P2 or potential win here in F1 on his return, of course, as Coutinho has left the session. Probably a disconnect from him, as he's been having internet issues for pretty much most of the race. One Mercedes doing well at the front, one Mercedes not doing very well at the back, which could hurt the championship in the constructors as well. I don't think Westy is that quick enough at the moment to get past Koala. Don't forget, Koala has that penalty, that 5-second stop go, which unless it's a safety car, they don't have to pit again. Cassie G pits for pretty much a 5th time, I believe, and he goes on, I believe he's going to go on to a fresh set of mediums, that's for sure. And I think Ibile will be pitting soon. Actually, no, Lonely will be pitting soon as well. Yeah, Coutinho's got front wing change, and so has Cassie G.
Yeah, Josh trying to go down the inside of Jonathan Cox, but Cox here manages to hold it off around the outside for now. No DRS still, of course, and that is why they're finding it a bit hard to overtake in Westy's case. But obviously for Josh in 6th place, Jonathan Cox will have DRS next time around, so that won't make it any easier. So could be very interesting here. Coutinho having connection issues, so he will not be taking any further part in this race. So we're down to just 13 runners. Out in front though, Fairhand looking nice and steady at the moment with a 2.5 second lead over Koala, who's managing to get that Red Bull placed in just the right places at the moment, getting good traction leading on to the main straight, so he's staying in 2nd. Westy 3rd, Paulie Orange 4th with that 10-second penalty, which I imagine he will get removed because the stewards do seem to be overly harsh under safety car periods when it comes to collisions and any possible corner cutting, but he might have just been avoiding all the carnage that was going on with Glock, Fairhand, Westy, Koala. I think pretty much nearly everyone getting caught up in that Glock, and of course unfortunately having to retire. It really looked like he could have had the pace to win this race. On to lap 23 then. DRS will be enabled this time around. This is going to be Westy's best opportunity if he wants to get ahead of the Red Bull. Needs to get a good exit out of these next couple of corners. It looks as though he's dropped back from Koala already. No front wing damage. I can see that could explain why he's dropping back, but Westy needs to make the move soon, and otherwise Paulie Orange, he might fancy his chances of taking a podium out on track with penalty. It's going to be difficult to stay there.
Yeah, definitely. Paulie Orange looking very good throughout the whole of that set to 1, and that's probably going to hurt Westy, to be honest. And I think Paulie Orange is staying back just a little bit, but enough to make sure he can keep Westy at bay, of course. But I don't think it's just like Westy's ERS at the moment. he's got less compared to Koala. Koala can burn it more than Westy, and I think Westy is doing a little bit more saving at the moment because he knows that if he pushes at the same time as Koala does, then he's going to lose out more of his deployment side of things compared to Koala.
Yeah, if I was Westy, I'd try and save a bit more DRS because he's got the slipstream and he's going to have the DRS on the pit straight and along Raffles Boulevard between turns 5 and 7. So why not just save the DRS for that point? Try and force Koala to maybe use his a bit more at different parts of the circuit and just make it a bit easier to get past, because it doesn't really seem as though the Williams has got the natural straight line advantage. Paulie Orange is still right there behind. Jonathan Cox, Josh, Silent Ace has now caught up to these guys as well. Cassie G having to come back out on 7-lap old medium tyres. Really hope for his sake he's got a fresh set of soft tyres to maybe try and set a fastest lap. Otherwise it's going to be a very frustrating race after 5 pit stops for him. The Williams pit crew definitely earning their money today. Paulie Orange getting very close to the back of Westy. I think Jonathan Cox has actually made a slight mistake coming out of turn 3 there, and that could give Josh all the opportunity he needs. DRS open though on the racing point. You can see Josh is just running out of ERS, so he's not able to catch up, and Westy not close enough to Koala either this time around. It's all getting very close, and the further Westy stays behind, any chances of victory seem to be going away, as Loney has managed to get past Aylan. That's for Toro Rosso up into 9th place. That safety car really a blessing in disguise for him after his incident earlier on, and of course he was the one who brought it out.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for some of these guys, it helped them more than hindered them, to be honest. But obviously, Paulie Orange is going to drop his way out of the picture soon. But you can see that the driver that Westy does not want to see in his mirrors is Josh. Josh could see pretty much everyone in this train. Jonathan, Paulie Orange, Westy and Koala as well. So a podium is in sight for the Renault driver who was leading this race until the incident has happened, of course. And Westy has got to be feeling the pressure now that he's got not 1, not 2, but 3 cars behind him, all fighting for the same position.
Yeah, Koala's doing a fantastic job, I must say, of saving his ERS, and I think Westy and some of these others behind might have to start getting a bit imaginative with where they want to overtake. We've seen quite often in this race a few cars give it a go into turn 15, so that's near the start of sector 3, just before you get to all those 90-degree right-handers that you can see at the bottom of the track map. We've seen a few cars give it a go round there, and that might be the best chance, because on the DRS straight everyone just looks to like have everyone else covered. Here we go, Westy's going to open his DRS, but he's only on 20% on his ERS. As soon as he drops down below 10, you really lose a lot of deployment, and that is affecting everyone in this train as well. Josh really low at the moment, and that's allowing him to not really be able to get up to Jonathan Cox, who's dropped a bit back from these guys. But Koala just doing a fantastic job at the moment of holding on to that 2nd place in the Red Bull. It could be looking very good for himself in the Red Bull at the moment. His teammate Artiero retired, although actually speaking of that, Artiero's normally in an Alfa Romeo. It's just the fact that he missed qualifying. But Koala as a reserve doing an incredibly good job in keeping Westy behind, and I am still surprised that the Williams hasn't been able to get by a lot easier.
Obviously, Westy was obviously faster than Koala for some of that for Q2 in qualifying. So I'm shocked as well that he can't get past. But again, maybe he knows that the mediums might not be optimum towards the end. So he may know that Koala is pushing and Westy's not. So Westy could use Koala to his advantage towards the end, and that's only with a 3-second time penalty as well. I'm a bit worried about Westy's DRS still at the moment. He's on the balance at the moment, but once he gets onto overtake, the deployment is going to come down really, really fast, especially on the straight as he drops down to 2 quite quickly. Again, it is not going to be enough for the Williams driver to get past Koala at this stage.
It might be worth him just giving up on trying to get the overtake done this time around, waiting another lap or 2 and saving that ERS up, because Koala's still looking pretty handy at the moment, so there's nothing Westy can do. Jonathan Cox really seems to be struggling now to keep on the back of these. He's just in DRS range this time around, but unless he finds a way past here, he's not going to be able to. It's him and Josh are going side by side. Josh determined, he knows he's dropping off the back of this train, and there we go, Josh making his way up into 5th place. Great move around the outside. Fair play to Jonathan Cox. He gave him space, but he was starting to struggle. I think Josh recognised that and decided, right, that is the time for me to make my way up. And the Renault driver now up into 5th place. Can he stiff a podium chance here? Possibly even 2nd place. He's just 2 seconds behind Koala, but I know he does have a 3-second penalty hanging over him, and penalties are going to be really crucial here for the order at the moment. Paulie Orange, 10 seconds could possibly drop him down to 10th position. Furhan doesn't really have to worry about that. Very soon he'll only have 5 laps to go, and he's got a 4-second lead in the Mercedes.
Yep, indeed, as well as I think that's the only penalty that Paulie Orange has got. Westy has got 2 penalties to deal with as well. Obviously, Koala has got 2 penalties and a 5-second time penalty as well. That puts him into 11 seconds worth of penalties. Furhan's only got 1 warning, so we could see potentially a podium going to Josh right now, as obviously he had to serve.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Jess. Paulie Orange is off the circuit. I think he's gone into the back of Westy.
Oh no, he is.
So Paulie Orange.
Oh, Westy's lost it. Did he?
Yeah, Westy's dropped down as well, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I think Paulie Orange and Westy have made contact. Josh is already up into 3rd, so Koala gets a bit of breathing space. Silent Ace on the back of Jonathan Cox. That has really shook up the order here. Paulie Orange way down in 10th place, front wing damage, and Josh, I think he must be counting his lucky chickens here. Like, everything has worked for him after he had that front wing damage for what would have been his own mistake in the pit lane. He's up into 3rd place. With Koala having penalties, it's going to be a 2nd place and extending his championship lead, with Westy and Paulie Orange now way down the order.
I've got to say, Josh probably might be a cat right now, as his 9 lives is still going strong. I don't know how he's doing this. That mistake he made in the pit lane is not haunting him whatsoever, and somehow he's still going to be leading the championship after Singapore. We thought Westy was going to do, but after that mistake, it's Josh once again, and Josh is 1.7 seconds behind Koala now. He's going to be 2nd place right now. This is just insane from Josh. I thought his race was over, but his chance for a podium is coming back right now. This is great from the Renault driver.
Yeah, great performance from Josh. With Koala picking up another penalty, we might see Jonathan Cox in the racing point. He was fuming after that 5 place penalty in qualifying. With 4 laps to go, can Jonathan Cox sneak his way onto the podium in the racing point? His last podium this season was way back in China with a 2nd place. He's only been in the points 3 times since then, and this has been a great race from the racing point driver. Silent Ace is going to get his 1st points of the season, currently in 5th, but Westy, I think, come through that incident unscathed. He's got a fantastic run, DRS open on that Williams, and that is going to be 5th place for the Williams. So can he force his way up through the order? And Denge, who had that jump start, was well down at the back of the field. He's in the points. Loney's recovered to 8th, Aylan 9th, NUF1 now in 10th. As Paulie Orange, he's pitted, put the soft tyres on, as does Cassie G. They're just fighting for that fastest lap point at the moment. Can Josh, in the next 3.5 laps, make up that 1.4 seconds to take 2nd out on track?
It is going to be tight between him and Koala right now to get a 2nd place, but no matter what happens, I think Josh will be really proud for that comeback. Imagine what he would have been like if he didn't make that mistake. He would have been way out in the lead right now, but that's nothing to worry about for him at the moment. He's just got to focus on the task in hand, of course, in 3rd place right now, and he's already going to get into DRS range in a second, just in time. Vitinho's slipstream is going to help him massively, even though he's ghosted at the moment. So Josh says thank you very much, and now is a prime chance for Josh to make this overtake, and he's got DRS. He is running out of ERS though, so I don't think he's going to get Koala this lap, but he could get him next lap as well.
Yeah, they're on the same age of tyres, so that's not going to be a worry after they're pitted under the safety car. And we saw how well Koala was able to keep Westy behind earlier. Is Josh going to be as easy to keep behind? We'll have to wait and see. Only 3 laps remaining here for the Red Bull to get what would still, even with penalties, be a fantastic result for him. Josh too far behind this time around. Westy, though, quickly closing in to Jonathan Cox. The racing point driver goes defensive. Is Westy going to be able to hold it all the way around the outside? Much better on the brakes, and that is for Williams, recovering up into 4th place. But I'm sure he's going to be left wondering what might have been at the end of this race. So how far up the order can he get? Because with Koala's penalties, he might still be looking good for a podium. Silent Ace, he'll be trying to make his way past Jonathan Cox as well. I'm sure the racing point seems to be dropping back a bit further now, so I'm not sure whether he's got any damage or just struggling a bit more with those tyres than some of the other drivers around him.
Yeah, definitely. And you can already see Wesley catching up to the train, so maybe a podium is not far-fetched that we might have thought. We're seeing a lot of comebacks in this race, and that's what Singapore does for you. Pretty much everyone, apart from Alhan in 9th place, has made at least 2 stops, with Lonely making 4. So that just goes to show how difficult Singapore is around here. And Verhan, nowhere to be seen right now. He is pulling away like a wildfire at the moment. 5.8 seconds, 5.9 at the moment. Josh is 1/10 behind Koala. Could this be make or break for Josh to get past Koala on track? I know he doesn't have to, but he's a racer at heart, so he wants to get that move done. He was closer, but not close enough. He's running out of ERS. I think it may be too little, too late right now, but again, that's not going to affect him too much. As long as he can stay within Koala's slipstream, he should be fine in taking that 2nd place away from him. Of course, as long as he doesn't drop back from him. Josh getting a better entry speed into the corner, and I think he's going to breeze past the Red Bull driver, and he's up into 2nd place. What a move from Josh.
Yeah, I think Koala, he's been, most of the race, he's kept his ERS management pretty well, but I think that time he's realised he's just lost a bit too much and not able to have any tools at his disposal to defend. So that is Josh up into 2nd position, and I'm sure he'll have taken that after he banged into the pit lane exit wall after his first pit stops. He's made 3 pit stops now, but he's still going to get 18 points from this race, and still 1 and a bit laps to go, so I hope nothing happens to Verhan, but the Singapore track can definitely bite if you make a slight mistake. Westy, is he going to try in this final lap in a bit to maybe catch up to Koala, because he's flying at the moment. He's getting well ahead of Jonathan Cox. Paulie Orange picking up some more penalties, but he's well down the order now. It's going to be another race where he struggles in the points. He only managed 10th in Italy. It's going to be no points here this time around, which would actually be the first time this season, I believe, he won't get any points. I'll just check the fastest lap at the moment. He has got the fastest lap, so he would still sneak a point for that, but that could change in the final stages with Cassie G also on the soft tyres. We're on the final lap of the race then. Verhan with a 6.7 second lead. Josh seems to have escaped from Koala. Is Westy going to be able to catch up? Silent Ace just dropping back now from the Racing Point driver ahead. So I think things beginning to settle down in the order. Maybe Alan on those fresher medium tyres. Is he going to be able to find a way past Loney? He has gone very deep into turn 2 and 3 there, and this could be the chance for the McLaren driver to make his way up into 8th position.
Yep, so here he goes, and has only made a little bit of mistake there going into the DRS straight. This could be the McLaren driver's chance, and he breezes past him once again. That mistake costed Lonely the Toro Rosso driver, and that is 8th place for him. It's not going to be enough to catch the Alpha, but never say never, as Lonely tries to go for a really good move on the McLaren driver, and he says thank you very much. He's up into 8th. That mistake didn't come back to buy much. Lonely's made a mistake as he's gone back down into 9th place. He was on a high, now he was on a low, then he was on a high, then he was on a low again. That is a bit of a shame right now, but Verhan, he's got the last sets to go before he wins the Singapore Grand Prix, or will he? He's got, as long as he keeps his car on the circuit and not go into many walls, then that's the win guaranteed for him. And what a drive it has been for the McLaren driver. Of course, he's driven well. He only got 8th place in, I believe, Italy, but he's going to get his best finish of the season. His best finish was reserved in the Toro Rosso. He's going to get his first win as a full-time driver in 1st place. And what a comeback from Josh M97 to get 2nd place in the Renault. What could have been, though, if he didn't have that incident in the pit lane? And Westy gets a podium. Jonathan Cox drops down to 5th, and so does Koala, as Adenji, out of all people, he gets 4th place. He was, I believe, didn't make it through Q1, and he went from last place pretty much all the way into 4th. That's amazing.
Yeah, great for Andenge. Koala dropping 5 places there because of penalties. That's what happens when the safety car comes out towards the end. So Andenge 4th, Silent Ace 5th, Jonathan Cox 6th, Alan 7th, Koala 8th, NUF 1 9th, Lonely 10th, Hibilu just missing out on his first points here at FOR with 11th, but it's still his best finish. Poorly Orange in 12th place. He will get that point though for the fastest lap. Not that I'm sure that will be much consolation for him at the moment. I don't think Cassie G is able to go around much faster on 4-lap old soft tyres, but the winner, 10 seconds in the end. That makes it sound as though it was easy for Furhan. I think up until safety car it was anything but he managed to get ahead of everyone with that restart, and it'll be interesting to ask him what his view was that after the race. Josh recovering to second, Westy third, but your winner, second win of the season, his first one as a full-time driver, it is Furhan in the Mercedes. Fantastic job from him.
Pretty much at the start of the race, it was a battle between him and Josh for the race victory, but unfortunately Josh, with that mistake, it could have been a battle towards the end of that race, but no mistakes really from Furhan at all in that race, and that really showed consistency is key for him, and he has won, and we'll be absolutely delighted with that. I wonder what Josh will be thinking right now, but he won't be too disheartened as he extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, he's just pulling away slightly now. I think his lead at the moment has just gone up ever so slightly. It is now 6 points ahead of Westy. Could have been more, but he knows it could have been a whole lot less. Furhan with the win, Josh in second, Westy third, and Denge 16th to 4th in the end. A great job from him. Silent Ace getting his first points. Jonathan Cox in 6th. Alan is always there or thereabouts in the points in 7th. Koala dropping 8 places thanks to 95 places, thanks to 90 places of penalties. NUF1 9th. Loney just getting a point despite 4 pit stops, but he started in 3rd. Hibilu missing out in 11th. Paulie Orange 12th. Bad day in the office for the Haas driver. Cassie G 13th after 6 pit stops. Coutinho disconnected. Glock, Artiero and Infamous Pillars were the retirements. It's safe to say, once again, Singapore not proving to be the most conventional of races.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a few instances, but not as much as I would have thought, but to be honest, everyone I think has had less incidents than we would have thought, so well done to those guys. But I think these guys will be relieved to get Singapore out of the way. That's done and dusted for the F1 2019 game, and I do believe we move on. What's the next track? Is it Russia next or is it Japan? I'm not entirely sure.
It's Russia next time. I'm just going to try and get the top 3 in for interviews to see what they think, because I think it's fair to say they didn't all have the most conventional race. But yeah, Russia next time around, which they raced at just a few days ago, those that take part in the F2 Championship. But yeah, very interesting race here. And Russia, another one of those circuits with that twisty final part of the lap. Obviously, it's a bit similar to Singapore in that way. Yeah, because obviously Furhan, he had that incident in this race with Glock where the two spun around and then there was the safety car. We have actually now got the top 2 in, so congratulate them on what was a very interesting race. And Furhan, you, first of all, you took the win, but it's fair to say it wasn't the most straightforward victory. Oh, actually, Furhan's quickly left, it's now saying, so he's trying to come back in. I think he's just having a few connection. Yeah, so I think while we're sorting that out, we'll just go to Josh, who finished in second, and you must be kicking yourself after that pit lane ever. Yeah, safety car definitely helping you out there. Some very decisive moves to get through the field, because a few drivers did find it quite difficult to get past Koala. Westy and Paulie Orange had been stuck past him a while, but you seem to make it a breeze, and you seem to have the pace in all the conditions today. Yeah, Yeah, I don't think you're the first driver to do that. I think I remember actually Nico Rosberg spinning out of the pit lane once, and he's an F1 world champion. So if he can do it, anyone can do it. You've extended your lead, though, ever so slightly. Now, it's now 6 points ahead of Westy, and I think after obviously coming out outside of the points in the safety car period, I think you'll be fairly happy with the recovery job. Yeah, I think that's probably the... Yeah, well, Russia next week obviously will give you a chance to try and recover straight away. So well done on your second place. But the race winner, Ferhan, taking the victory. He took the lead at the start. Josh managed to get back ahead. And obviously once Josh made his mistake. But the safety car restart, I don't think it's the most textbook safety car restart I've ever seen, Ferhan. But it seemed to work. I think I've mentioned it on the stream. I thought it was because you were actually catching the safety car up a bit too soon. So, and then I think that led to a bit of carnage behind. There was so much going on we didn't quite see it all. Because was it Glock who ended up running into the back of you, and then Koala ended up overtaking Westy and getting a penalty as well? Yeah, shame for Glock. Yeah, we'll have to see if Glock does take that to the stewards. And also, there was a bit of wheel banging between you earlier on in the race. You and Glock going side by side, and the McLaren driver ended up spinning. What was your view on that? You did a great job. Do you think you'd have had a chance maybe of beating Josh? Because it seemed in the first stint he was ever so slightly faster, or were you just happy to perhaps settle for second before Josh made his mistake? No, but you managed to keep it clean enough to take your second victory. First one as a full-time driver. Great job from yourself, Ferhan. Jess, do you have anything else to add?
Really, but obviously good recovery drive from you, Josh. We thought that your race was going to be over after that damage, but I think that safety car helped you there. And obviously, well done to Verhan for obviously forgetting the troubles with Glock and managing to keep the race victory. So well done to both of you, and a very well-deserved podiums.
Thanks. Nice one.
Yeah, thank you to Ferhan and Josh for joining us. Unfortunately, Westy unable to join us, which is a shame because I was going to ask him about what happened with himself and Paulie Orange. I think it's fair to say Josh feeling pretty downhearted, and Ferhan just sounded a bit like he's relieved that race was over in the end.
Yeah, I think everyone is probably relieved. I think no one was too happy about what happened. I think everyone at least got a little bit of mistake. I think no one came from this race feeling happy or made no mistakes. I think at least everyone made a mistake at some point. So, I think they just got to forget about it and obviously concentrate on the final lot of races of the season and just focus on Russia, which is next week.
Yeah, as Josh said, Russia will be next time around, and Josh has just managed to extend his championship lead ever so slightly. I'm sure Westy, Paulie Orange and a few others will be hoping to recover after what was a difficult race for those. So thank you to Jess for joining me once again. Thank you to all you guys for watching at home, and thanks also to our sponsors as MIXT Energy. Check them out in the description below and use the code FOR2020 to get yourself a 10% discount. And you can also check out Player One Coffee down there as well for all your energy needs. And I think Singapore is definitely one of them races where I could have maybe done with some sugar or some coffee to get me through that. It's getting on for towards 11 o'clock. I'm getting a bit too old to be staying up this late, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I only just realised the time as well. This race, I think the race went on for 55 minutes as well, almost an hour. So, yeah, thank you guys to those of you that have stayed. Much appreciated.
Yeah, Singapore always a test of endurance, and Russia not exactly the easiest circuit either. Plenty of places to pick up penalties, bit like Singapore, that final sector very tight and twisty. Wouldn't be surprising, therefore, if Josh is on the pace again, but will he make a mistake? That could cost him another victory. Can't afford to do that too often. He just about got away with it tonight. Whether he'd be able to do that again next week is a different matter. Thank you all so much for watching, and myself and Jess will see you next time around. I'll be back for the finale of the F2 Championship through Abu Dhabi on Tuesday. I hope you'll be able to join us from then, but if not, we'll see you guys next weekend. Good night.